Hello and welcome to another episode of the Spideydude Experience. I'm Zach Joyner, your friendly neighborhood webmaster and host of the program. Welcome to a very special edition of the show. I've titled it Across the Spider-Verse of Podcast. Each guest tonight is a host or a co-host of a Spidey or comics-related show or YouTube channel that features them, and I'm really excited to get to know for everybody to get to know each other. But before we get to our guests this evening, I must mention our patrons at patreon.com/Spideydude Network. We got patrons such as our spectacular or sensational tier: Allison, Cindy, Ed, Greg, Georgia, Janelle, Jessica, Catherine, Kale, Keegar, Laura Howard, Master Drummond, Phoenician, Scott, Vanessa, and Vicky. Thank you guys for your support. And then we have our VIPs, Scott, Sebastian, Vinkman, and Winnipeg Webhead. Thank you guys for your support. Also up on our screen, we have our friendly neighborhood tier. They get shout outs on the audio edition. So thank you guys for your support here on Spideydude.com and the Spideydude Radio Network. All right, we also got our other shows, such as our Spideydude Vault series, Clone Saga Chronicles, the 90s show about the 90s Clone Saga and the Clone Saga related characters that started it all here on the network. Spectacular Radio, the show about the 2008-2009 animated series, The Spectacular Spider-Man, that ran on Disney XD and Kids WB, with frequent guest being executive producer of the program, Greg Weisman. Amazing Spider-Man Classics Season 1 was three guys talking about Spidey from the beginning, with Season 2 being a father-son duo, Jack and Javi Trujillo, doing it themselves. The Spectacular Spidey Sal Buscema Era podcast is hosted by Chris Dedmond, about the era of the seminal run of Spectacular Spider-Man by our pal Sal. And finally, Voices from the Eerie, a Gargoyles podcast, covers the Gargoyles animated series with co-creator Greg Weisman. But if you are a Patreon subscriber, you have the Patreon first show, Books of X, hosted by Neil Bogenreiter, talks about the Krakoan era of X-Men from the beginning. And our sister program here on the channel is Make Mine Mayday, the show all about Spider-Girl and her world. All right. Thank you guys for watching. If you're watching us live on YouTube, before we get started, we always mention here, if you're listening to the audio edition, pay it no mind, because we're going to have some references to visual aids and or live comments. So may it no mind if you're listening to the audio edition, be sure to give us that 5-star review and we'll read it on a future episode. And if you're watching us here live on YouTube, give us that like, that share, and that subscribe. Hello, everybody. This is an episode that I have been wanting to do since I started the channel back in 2020. Tonight, we have special guests here. Like I mentioned at the top, these are guys that I've been on their shows or I've been fans of their shows. And there's one guy that, well, I got to kind of thank for all of this. So without further ado, first up, we got Doug and Derek. They are from the Wolloping Websnappers. Me and Neil are fighting in the behind.
Stop it! I can't come in, apparently.
Guys, tell us a little bit about your shows, and then we'll add our next guest.
Yeah, so Wolloping Websnappers is a podcast where Derek and I dive into every Spider-Man cartoon ever made. So we specifically talk cartoons and animation. Sometimes we dip into other things, but our primary focus is how folks animate Spider-Man and write Spider-Man in that medium.
Yeah.
Derek, anything to add to that, man? Doug
kind of nailed it, really. Yeah. I mean, and we do every Spider-Man cartoon. So, we obviously do the mainline ones, but we've tackled Spider-Woman. We'll do some of like the Marvel animes that feature Spider-Man. We've done just like random one-offs of other like TV Spider-Man things that maybe just happen to feature Spider-Man maybe a little bit. Anything that's Spider-Man animation is fair game in some capacity.
Yeah.
So we definitely have done some weirder offshoots before. And
going so far as to an upcoming episode being a cartoon that featured Peter Parker unnamed exactly for one episode. So if it touches Spider-Man or a Spider person, we try to find it and talk about it.
I think I know which episode you're talking about. I'm just going to wait and see.
Sure. I mean, this is a I guess an exclusive. No one knows. We haven't released it yet, but
I'm just guessing. I'm guessing.
Go for it.
I'm curious. Go for it.
If you know it, that's incredible.
I'm not. I don't want to spoil it.
No. Go for it.
It's not a spoiler.
I'm guessing it's Fantastic Four. World
Series. That's exactly
you nailed it. 100%.
Nice.
Yeah. Fantastic Four features one episode with a character unnamed that is Peter Parker.
Yep.
Nice. So speaking of covering all Spidey all the time, we have the Grand Poobah.
Poobah?
Yeah,
I like the word poo in it. My goodness. I don't know if that's a compliment or what.
He is the webmaster of the Spider-Man Crawlspace, the guy that's this is, in a roundabout way, this is all your fault.
I get that a lot. I get that a lot.
It's usually from JR though, so it's a refreshing
No, the internet. No.
Well, so Brad is the podcast host. I haven't double checked this, but I'm pretty sure this is factual. You're the oldest Spider-Man podcast that's still ongoing, as far as I know.
You and I launched the very first Spider-Man podcast in 2006.
Yep.
There were some that happened after us, but we were the first online. And this is the 17 years, I think it is 2006 to 2023. Yes. But I'm curious. You said you want me to do an intro, and we're all different podcast people from across the Spider-Verse.
Mm-hmm.
So I host a Spider Hulk show in Earth 6354321.
Oh,
and I don't know why the hell I'm here. I mean,
technically, we could go over what our Spider Sonos would be. I mean, you would be the Spider Hulk because you're second favorite.
I'm not the Kingpin. I get recognized at cons, and I'm not even dressing up.
I mean, I told you to stop wearing the white shirts because of the white suits. But
do you carry a cane too there? Because that also would probably be part of it.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's a camera stand. They all think it's a cane.
Oh yeah, it's a selfie stick. But I'm selfieing. I'm not the Kingpin, damn it.
I mean, you do carry a microphone, so if you just did like the Bob Barker microphone.
Mic? Oh, those long, tall microphones. Yeah, that'd be fun.
So we've got some comments already in the chat. We got Kelly. It says, if I don't get a chance to listen live, I hope everyone has a great show. Kick some name, take some butt. And we got Ryan Reed in there. We got Andrew and Robert. Hello, guys. Okay, so you kind of said this, your origin story of the podcast. So let's go Derek and Doug first. How did the show start? What got you into doing podcasting as a medium?
Oh boy. As a medium, because it might be different. Well, is it different stories for both of us? I don't know.
I think our origin stories are on the same the same podcast unrelated to Spider-Man, I would guess. I'm not sure what your first one was, but mine was a Power Rangers podcast doing guest spots.
Me too, I think. Yeah, no, I did one pilot episode for a Smallville podcast that didn't take off. And then that's how I got onto the Ranger Grand Power Hour, which I'm assuming is what you're talking about, right?
Yes.
And guest spots. Yeah. And then that kind of gave us the podcasting bug because we were talking about, a long running franchise property that we loved. And then Doug and I had already been friends for years. And I think since both of us had kind of had the podcasting bug, it was like, why not do it together?
Mm-hmm.
And Doug, you started a Pokemon podcast too, like before we even did Wolloping Websnappers.
Yeah, probably a year or two before that. So
yeah, and I think both of us had like dabbled in various kinds of like media content criticism creation stuff. I'd done some video essays and everything. So like basically podcasting just like made sense. And we're like white guys in our 30s. Obviously, we're gonna have a podcast.
So what else are you gonna do?
What else are you gonna do? But yeah, I mean, and I think we had a lot of similar feelings about and approaches, similar but different feelings and approaches to Spider-Man. Like we had different experiences. Like I really liked like television and stuff like that, and had seen a lot of cartoons. Doug really liked Spider-Man, but hadn't seen a lot of the cartoons. And so we kind of were able to kind of go in from that different perspectives as we sort of do deep dives, and also just like both enjoy learning about animation in general and the way that it works as a medium on television.
Yeah, I mean, here on the channel, obviously I mentioned Spec Radio and Gargoyles because we talked with Greg Wiseman on both of those. It's been real fun to get that master class from a guy that has been doing it for so long and everything. Brad, now I got a question for you because it's a little different.
Okay.
We have been doing this since 2006, like you mentioned. talk about, from your perspective, how crazy the podcasting sphere has just exploded. I mean, obviously what we're doing right now is something we didn't even dream about when we were first doing it. For the record, I was using a cell phone and we were listening through Brad's speakers on the first episode, but
yeah, I eventually got I think we did it on Skype, and I got a program. I don't know if there was one before Pamela, but Pamela was a Skype recording program where on a good day it would record it nicely. On a bad day, there'd be a lot of glitches. So then you take the MP3 from Pamela and edit it in Audacity, which I still edit in Audacity to do the audio version. But there wasn't as many comic shows out there. The one that I noticed, because I still have it on my desk. I have an old school iPod, one of these deals.
Yeah.
And I got that, and I'm like, well, what's this thing called podcasting? And so John Suntress does the Word Balloon podcast, and that was the very first comics podcast I ever noticed. And I listened to it, and he had the Bendis tapes, and I listened to an interview of Brian Michael Bendis, and I liked it. And I come from a background of broadcasting. I was a reporter for nearly 20 years at the local NBC station, and I love Spider-Man. So combining broadcasting, which is audio, now video, with my hobby, which is Spider-Man, it's like peanut butter and chocolate. Together, I can talk about what I love, which is Spider-Man. So, and that even goes back farther to the website. We were just talking about, we were both turning 25 years this year on the website alone. When I was in college, I went to a computer lab and discovered, hey, there's Spider-Man content out here. That's kind of cool. In the 90s, I went to spiderfan.org, and I'm like, you know what? I wonder if there's more people like me. So I made a little free website on GeoCities like Zach did. I think you were GeoCities, weren't you?
I was not GeoCities. I was Zoom, XOOM.
Oh, I remember Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so learned HTML, and I put one image up, and it took me all night. IMG SRC equals quotes, and then you put the greater than, less than. That'll do you some HTML. I learned that in an evening.
Think of how much time has passed that, like,
yeah, you weren't even born, kid.
Yeah.
But no, it's grown. To answer your question, it's grown and grown and grown. And I would not have suspected. I mean, maybe I would have, but I wouldn't expect to be in my spider cave, broadcasting around the world and hearing from around the world of people who love something that I do, which is Spider-Man. And there's been so many Spider-Man podcasts, and there's been so much spider content. The number one movie in the world is Avengers, which has our favorite character in it, which is amazing that there are a lot more people out there than there were in the 80s and 90s when I was trying to find people like me. So.
Yeah, absolutely. My beginnings are a little different. My dad and I started Spideydude Spider-Man page back in June 17th, 1998 was the first day it was online. And we did it, basically I asked my dad if anybody else could see it. He did it. He built it for me. And then eventually, and thanks to Brad, I have to give Brad a lot of credit, because the early days of Crawlspace, I was struggling with the website, of what to do with the website. And we he basically gave me the advice of make it more niche, make it where it was, we covered all the clone stuff.
Yep.
And then we started Clone Saga Chronicles in 2009. And then as I talked about at the top of the episode, it's spiraled an entire network now of shows that has, gotten various audience members. And it's crazy to me to think about how far podcasting took me. I'm actually enrolled in college right now doing broadcasting. So it, thanks, Brad. I was your first student.
I was about to say, this is more like a father and his son playing catch.
Neil, there's a clone logo on you. I can't see you, Neil. Where are you?
He doesn't need to be seen.
I like Neil.
Seen and not heard. Seen and not heard is the... Or no,
well,
heard
Zach,
and not
broadcasting's
seen.
been good to me, and I think you have a natural talent for it. So I think it'll be a natural industry for you to go to, but because by God, you've been doing it for a long time, and people have been listening to you and watching you for years. So I think it'll be natural for you.
Speaking of, in the comments section, we got Vinkman saying Crawlspace was his first podcast, so he's been listening to Brad and Zach for 10 years. We've been going on longer than that.
I was Vinkman's first. I don't know how to take that.
So, Derek, Doug, when did y'all first start the show?
2019. I think the beginning of 2019, right? Like February, I think.
February.
Yeah, February 2019.
Y'all have gone through all the main shows, right? Y'all done all the.
We haven't finished, so we kind of jump around, right? So we didn't want to just like start from the 60s going forward, because then you're kind of stuck with a long running show for a long period of time. So we'll usually do like either a season or half season of a show and then just kind of jump back and forth. But at this point, we've at least touched or done like a season or half season of every mainline show by now at this point.
Nice.
We've only completed a few of them, but we've done a chunk of all of them.
Yeah, most of the shorter ones we've completed, like your MTV, your Spectacular, your Unlimited, stuff like that. Longer ones, obviously, we're going to be doing those for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, the 90s show is 65 episodes. I think Ultimate 65.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Ultimate's
we
over
started
100
that one recently.
actually.
We waited a little too long, maybe, to start that one.
It's the longest running one. 104.
Wow,
Yep. It's like 104 episodes. Yeah.
Brad and I stopped watching after a certain point.
Oh, I couldn't. No, bravo to you fellas. I can't get through that show. I cannot. Have you hit up My Amazing Friends yet? That's my favorite.
Oh yeah.
We dipped into that one pretty early. We haven't finished it because it's one of our nice like palate cleansers in between longer stints. Because it's campy and it's fun. So some of those we save as a treat between.
That's nice to hear.
Rougher patches.
That is a treat that you guys like it, because I'm 48, and you guys in your 30s maybe. Okay, so you were a little weren't born yet when that one came out. I don't think.
No.
Not when it came out, but it's like rerun for years.
It has,
so
it's been on.
It was a hotel show for me when we were in the hotel. It was playing somewhere. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I thought you were talking about the show for 4-year-olds, the Spidey and His Amazing Friends show.
Actually,
we're all too old for that.
I guess
that
is
one we have not yet started.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
guys! I will tell you, as somebody that watched it with my 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Or, gosh, she's 7. She's about to turn 8.
She just turned on the show.
No. She
get to that birthday party.
Her birthday is in 2 days, so she's about to turn 8.
That's awesome. Congrats.
Thank you. So we watched a couple of episodes, and it's very much basically if you remember if you remember watching Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Oh, absolutely. It's the MICKEY.
Yeah, it is the Spider-Man equivalent of that.
How's the continuity on that show? Do they strictly stick to the books? I'm just kidding.
No,
we have a few friends who
probably get butthurt over like something lining up in the comics.
Yeah, I know.
I think it's
Why
missing the
Spider-Man
audience.
4?
I think it's missing the audience that's going to get too mad. But it's hitting the right audience, because we do have some friends who have really young kids who watch it, and I've gotten messages from them or pictures of their kids watching, and I'm glad it exists, because it means that those kids are becoming Spidey fans at 2 years old. You know,
so awesome. Yeah,
we're getting them while they're young.
Yeah,
I equate it to the modern day Spidey super stories from PBS. That's what got me. I was 2 or 3, and here I am.
I was about to let you give your superhero origin story, Douglas, but go ahead.
Oh, my superhero origin story?
Yeah. How did you get into Spider-Man?
I was bit by a radioactive pig, and no, I was kidding.
Oh,
that's Spider-Ham. Sorry. No, he was bitten by a spider. Yeah, spider was bitten. Pig bit the spider. That's how Spider-Ham happened. Okay. Origin story. I love Sesame Street. I was 2 or 3. And if you watch Sesame Street about 30 minutes before in St. Louis, you would see the Electric Company come on. And specifically, the last 20 minutes of the Electric Company was Spidey Super Stories with Morgan Freeman introducing him, Rita Moreno occasionally appearing. I love that. If you go back an hour before that on Channel 30 in St. Louis, you could see the 67 Spider-Man cartoon show. And if I couldn't get enough Spidey, I stuck around on Saturday mornings in 81 and watched Amazing Friends when I was 6 or 7. So Spider-Man, and I'd go to the gas station and I'd get a comic book from a spinner rack. And then on Friday nights, I'd see the Hulk with Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno. And then I go to the gas station, I see a Marvel team-up, annual number 2 with Spider-Man and Hulk on the cover. I'm sold. And that was my origin story of how I was bit by the spider. And the gamma rays, evidently, too.
It would have been better if it was a gamma irradiated radioactive spider. You know.
Well, what was he hit with? He was hit with radioactive spider, not gamma ray spider. Yeah.
I mean, it's the 60s. Stanley had, he was a one-trick pony.
By the way, Zach, in honor of you for Texas, Bucky's Cup.
Hey, let's go.
I'm there.
I went in there last spring break. I love Bucky's. They have a good sandwich.
Dude.
Yeah, very good.
Eric, Doug, have you ever been to a Bucky's?
Nope.
No, but I've heard so much mythology and lore.
Just go down YouTube, you search for Bucky's taste test, and you'll drive to one. We're getting one about an hour away from me, Zach. So I'm looking forward.
Oh, really?
To it. Yeah.
So
the first one in Missouri, I think.
Yeah. They've been really expanding. I mean, for a long time, they were just in Texas.
Yeah. And
now they're expanding all over the South just because we had bragged about it so much that everybody wanted to start franchising them. Yeah. And so, but no, the brisket sandwich is, that's still my go-to on every road trip I take.
Yep. It's good.
They've been slipping recently.
Really?
They haven't been as good as at the ones I've been going to.
The one in Baytown, which is literally like 6 miles from my house, I've never had a bad experience with it.
What are those little they're like popcorn and cereal kind of thing with caramel on them? What are those?
Nuggets?
Beaver nuggets? Oh yeah, those are good. That's like eating a straight cereal box.
Dude, it's like,
sugar crisp.
But like the last time when I was visiting Austin back in September before I decided to move there, I took a pit stop in Bastrop at the Buc-ee's because I always did that when I was going back and home from college. And I got a brisket sandwich. It tasted like absolute dog shit.
Oh, dude, that makes me sad. I've actually been to the original one. The original one is down just a little further south, and it's a tiny gas station. It's the antithesis of the rest of the Buc-ee's. Because every other, like the Buc-ee's in Baytown has like 135 pumps of gas pumps. It's like as I watched on TikTok, these two guys from Britain come over and they went through and kind of drove across America, right? And they ended up stopping in Texas and went to Buc-ee's, and I think he said it's like Walmart and a truck stop had a baby. That's a pretty good way of describing it. For those.
Yep.
Okay, so Brad, you've done different mediums. So you did when we first started, we were doing it exclusively on Apple, basically, because there was really no other podcasting platform.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the transition to YouTube and how that all came about.
Well, I found a thing called Google Hangouts, and I saw that you could record the broadcast with Google Hangouts, and I thought, well, I can just take the audio out of the video and rip it, and I can have a twofer. So one goes to the audio players, one can go up to YouTube, and I kind of like to say I've been ahead of the curve with the exception of YouTube. I think I was a little bit late to the YouTube game. But I went and did the podcast through that because they used to, unlike StreamYard, which is what I use also, Google Hangouts would pop the camera up when the person's talking and then they'd pop them down. The quality wasn't as good as StreamYard is, or there's other streaming platforms. You couldn't put the comments on. I love the comments that you can do now.
But sometimes you don't want to put the comments up.
Well, yeah. Sometimes you don't want to put the comments on. But I like the video aspect because for years, Zach, we didn't see each other.
No, and I had significantly more hair when we started.
Well, I didn't. But but it's nice. There's something to be said for seeing the people that you're talking to. I think it makes the show a little closer, makes it a little bit more intimate. I think the viewers can see your face, see how much of a hoarder you are behind you, and and I think it translates because sometimes people I've heard over the years, they're listening to the audio in the car, There's a dude in the UK listening on a bus on his phone. I mean, you hear various places where people listen to this, but they also sometimes say, "Hey, I want to watch this." So I've seen people watch the broadcast like at a hotel. If they're going to a comic book convention, they'll take a picture, they'll put it up on the screen, etc. So it's kind of cool to see that people listen and now also watch.
Yeah. So for those that are watching us live, or if you're listening to the audio edition, I am going to throw up my my senior photo just because I started my senior. Well, because hang on, I started my senior year.
This. I'm vetoing this. I have vetoed power.
See, I told you I had more hair.
No, your senior picture, not Ben Reilly.
Yeah.
He kind of looks like Ben Reilly now that
it does look like Ben Reilly.
It does look like Ben, yeah. Especially so. Okay, Derek.
Also kind of like Mark Hamill before the car accident.
Thanks, buddy.
Jeez,
that's not a bad thing.
I think I'll take that as a compliment.
It's a compliment.
Hello, Duke the Legend. He's like, what's going on? So Derek, Doug, you guys are only on audio, right? Have y'all thought about doing video, or y'all doing video for your Patreon page, or?
I don't think either of us have ever brought it up.
I don't.
We're pretty dedicated to like to audio, and we're pretty old fashioned about how we do it. And then I think anything else we kind of have dabbled in elsewhere. Like I know Derek has done video essays, but that's like a whole separate thing from what our show is. Yeah.
Also, no one's ever requested it either. So like.
You two have a great setup. You got the mics. You sound good. You got good lighting. You got stuff behind you.
Yeah, but sometimes
we're lighting in this on this.
Oh, we don't look like this when we're recording.
Yeah, sometimes
we put clothes on.
It's not how it is.
You don't have to wear pants.
Your audio, actually, real quick, y'all's audio output is really good.
There we go. That looks a little better.
Yeah, because we're professionals. Of course, our audio.
We're all professionals, Neil. What are you doing with your mic?
My mic looks like absolute dog crap. So.
Yeah, you got a decent mic though. But okay, so you guys are really good at social media. Y'all do like clips that you post on Twitter, and I think y'all is it Derek?
Yeah. When I have time,
primarily Derek, yeah.
I would like to do more, honestly. I just don't have it is time consuming. So don't feel bad if you feel like we're doing really good. It's too much work, so I wouldn't recommend it unless you have a lot of time on your hands.
Social media is a whole job in itself if you're going to promote.
Yeah,
I went to school for it and I hate it.
Well, it's a beast because there's so much unpredictability involved. You know, following the rules isn't really going to get you the result every time.
And
some of the things some of the things we think are going to hit are just like total silence, and then we throw up a random off comment about Spider-Man Unlimited that like blows up on our Instagram. Like, it's just impossible to know what's going to hit.
Agreed. Yeah. And then Zuckerberg will randomly take your Facebook page that you've had for a decade plus down, as Zach and I know.
Oh no!
That's a recent event, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, no, except last September, both of you, our Facebook pages died.
Well, no, I got mine back. Oh, I managed to get mine back.
Who'd you talk to? I don't.
Dude, I don't know. I tried to walk you through what I did, and for whatever reason, what I did didn't work for you. But like they had like some weird thing that went out on Facebook that just completely screwed everything up.
I violated community standards, and it says sometimes we make a mistake, but good luck trying to get it back. I don't think it says that, but it's the same.
That was basically
There's no human that monitors us. A bot will take you down at any random. I'm like, thank you a lot. What's the Terminator computer?
Skynet.
Thank you, Skynet. Yeah.
That's more chat GPT going on right now.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I've been having a conversation with my photographer friends from back home, and I guess Photoshop rolled out some AI editing that's pretty freaking wild. So we'll see how that goes.
What, in Premiere? I just had an update
in Photoshop.
Oh, in Photoshop, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I did see Procreate tweeting about how they have no plans to integrate AI, and I was like, I chose the right one to start with.
Dude, I have a whole lot of mixed feelings because on one hand, the potential for us creating content like what we do anymore, you could literally put in a script in AI, and they can take my voice and do the script and the voice, and I don't have to do any of the work. And I'm like, but that takes away all the
what's the point then? Yeah, why would you want that? Really,
there are certainly applications I think that could apply to what we're doing, but what I would find valuable is not the creative piece of it. It's like, I'm sure that you could feed a bunch of our raw audio and edited audio into a learning module or like a learning model, and then eventually have it edit for me, and that would be great. But as far as what we're talking about or how we analyze things, like that can't be recreated by AI for sure.
It'd be nice to have an AI do the Facebook posts and do all that social media stuff that promotes the original content. I don't think that's bad. But
yeah.
It's all about where the stuff is coming from that teaches the model, right? The big problem is that it blew up so fast that people weren't examining what was going into the models. So that's where problems with like the art and the creative side of things are. But using it as a tool, there's potential. It just needs to be looked at in a particular way before I think people are comfortable with stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been doing Brad, going back to what you guys were saying like earlier about the social media stuff. So I've been doing shorts on YouTube. And I started doing this in January. And basically what I'm doing is just filming my action figure collection. And some of them I get like 1.5 million views. And then the others I get 12. There's no rhyme or reason or anything to it. It's like...
I started doing shorts also. And the ones that I think will do great are do okay. And the ones I'm like, what? Who the hell wanted to see this more than the other ones? I thought that was, it's funny.
Yeah.
And it's my I'm old school. I like horizontal video. It's anti.
Oh, I'm the same way. I don't like the
Amen.
don't like the I mean, I just say you have to accept it. Like that's just what it is.
You
now,
do, and I've come
bummer.
to the realization that if you only want to watch this video vertical, and only be on your phone, there is an audience for that. But I blame Apple. Let me go on my rant, Zach. You've heard this rant before. I think when the first iPhone came out, there should have been a setting that didn't let you flip it, that you couldn't record video this way. I wish there was a setting that was like, hey, turn your phone this way, because every monitor or every movie you've ever watched looks like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Can't you just lock it and screen record?
Well,
no. Apple should have done it and said, hey, we've never shot video like that. And then TikTok wouldn't exist. It'd be horizontal TikTok.
He's saying Apple should have made the decision that no one is allowed to create in portrait mode.
Absolutely.
Like the phone would shut off close
just
the
say,
video recording.
Flip your phone, dumbass. That's what we should have said.
Brad starts enforcing like fascist martial law and vertical recording.
Listen, Brad has always been anti-vertical video. I mean, for as long as I can remember.
Okay.
But
if we were meant to watch vertical video, why do we have horizontal eyes? Our eyes are here. Our eyes are not up here.
Actually, a really good point, honestly.
Natural selection works. I think you're right. Yeah.
Well, maybe there are a few. There's an audience member that have eyes like this, but I don't know. Horizontal eyes.
But no, but I will say this. I mean, because Brad and I could say this. This is how old we are in terms of podcasting. When we started the show, the iPhone announcement didn't come until another 5 months later. The first iPhone wasn't in hand for almost a year. Like it came out in June, and the iPhone
07 it came out.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
first iPhone was 07.
The iPod was first though, right?
iPod was first.
Yeah.
That came out in 01, the first generation.
Yeah.
And then they had a few different iterations, and it really wasn't until the one you held up, the iPod video, that kind of.
No, this one doesn't do video.
Was it not?
Maybe it.
I think it does playback of video. Yeah, it's the playback.
Yeah, you know what? I guess it kind of does. I never watched video on it.
Well, the only thing that they had was like music videos and stuff like that. And
who wants to pay $2.99 when you watch it on YouTube? Never understood that. I don't get that.
Well, that was
baby.
That was before YouTube, though. YouTube didn't as it was. I mean, until Google really bought it, it hadn't really blown up. And then, like we say, you know, when the iPhone came out, that changed everything. I mean, we had to start thinking about the website being powered, you know, to look good on mobile, because I remember having a Motorola Q Windows Phone, and the internet on that was trash because it was like a really stripped down version of Internet Explorer. And so, I mean, it really wasn't until the iPhone came out that the internet in your pocket was something that was even thought of. I mean, it was such a game changer that, the running joke is that, Androids, Google saw it, and then they started working on Android almost immediately after. And so, now I have a little bit of problems with Spotify.
Maybe the screen was made by aliens.
Maybe it was, Duke. Have you guys ever had any problems with the platforms that you post to? Like,
yes.
Like what can you kind of explain what kind of problems you've had? Because like I've had problems with like Spotify like syncing with my stuff, and I don't know why.
I had problems uploading to YouTube when I was like a discount movie critic back in like 2015. But then again, my computer was like 5 years old and dying, and it was also made out of iMovie, so maybe that was just YouTube telling me to stop.
It's like editing with Microsoft Paint.
Now hang on, you can make some good shit posts out of Microsoft Paint. You can't make.
Oh no, I've seen some of your shit posts out of Microsoft Paint.
Neil has an entire folder on his computer that's just full of shit posting. So
that's the folder's name. Yeah,
it literally is just shit post.
No, I've seen the files, Brad. It literally is.
Yep.
Doug, Derek, have you guys had any problems like posting to your various audio platforms?
I feel like sometimes there's like delays between them, but other than that, I can't think of any serious or consistent issues we've had. Like episodes will all go up eventually, before too long, 90% of the time. So
like this is, you can't be going on social media like it comes out at 7 p.m. and then like
right. Right.
8 p.m. Why is it not uploading?
You guys are smart. I'm the one that likes to do, we'll come out on this date at this time. No. That's just setting yourself up for failure. Brad, you had to move your, because you used to be self-hosted on the website, right?
That's really the only problems I've ever had with hosting the MP3s is I used to have a VPN, I think is what that was called, because I had so much bandwidth with the website, and also it was getting hit pretty hard when I put the MP3s up there. So everything from the website, the message board, the MP3s were all a lot of data. I remember having to pay for a lot of bandwidth back in the day. But one of the best things, and to do when I self-hosted the podcast, to send it out, I had to put an XML file, I think is what it was called. And I had to manually, it felt just like GeoCities, where I manually typed this stuff in, and it would send it out to the podcast hosts. And that was 06 to 2010, maybe 2011 or something like that. And then I got to the point where the website was just crashing, and it was pay more money or we're taking you down. And I'm like, well, what if I take the MP3s off of this thing? Because MP3 files are relatively big. Depends on how big the show is. So I took the MP3s off, and I went to a podcast hosting site called Podbean, and haven't had a problem since. I like Podbean a lot. I had a chance to meet some of the owners of that. I was at a trip to Vegas on the school's budget to go to NAB, the National Association of Broadcasters.
Did you win money though? That's the question.
I don't gamble, so no, I didn't win any money. I did go to a buffet. That was winning. But I met the owners of Podbean, and they were really nice. And I said, I love your service. I've been with you 4 or 5 years, and I've never had any problems. And they do the audio, and they distribute it to all the podcatchers. And I don't have to fill out any XML stuff. And they have a nice little thing where I can share the audio. I can embed the audio on the website, so you can see a little video of the player on the website. And I can put a little link at the bottom, say, hey, if you want to see the video of this podcast, here's the YouTube channel. So, but in the old days, yes, it was a lot of data that was going through one pipe. So, yeah.
Well, and you had to take down the message board, because like we haven't done a show together in like 3 years.
2020, yeah.
And
We got divorced. Now we're talking.
Dude, I got engaged, married, separated, and divorced in the time that between the last times we talked to each other.
Well, there you go. I'm still married. Yeah.
Well,
I'm not.
if our buddy JR was here, he'd be like, it's a trap.
Yeah, he's our Admiral Akbar. But no, yeah, I did take the message board down. The message board, again, was causing the website to crash because it was, my God, how old was that message board? Like 2007, 2000. It was older.
Oh, it was 2005.
2003 or 4. It was older than the podcast.
Yeah.
I feel really bad because I was one of the people who was like, hey, Brad, maybe we should archive the message board, preserve everything, and move all the conversation to the Discord server.
Yeah. Well, I still got the whole message board on my hard drive.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying is that it's archived, but like, I feel kind of bad because people can't interact with it anymore.
But the message board traffic was going down, but the message board data, how much data was on it, was again bringing the website down. And I'm not on a VPN anymore. I'm on a shared hosting.
Yeah,
shared hosting, and it for what the amount of data it was pulling with either bots or something was taking down all my shared other people that were on the same server. So I said, you know what? All the discussion is on the front page in the comment section or on Discord. So they've moved away from the old message board format and let's just.
Did you guys, Doug, did you ever use message boards?
Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah, I discovered message boards because I was a huge fan of Survivor since day one, and all the discussion about that show was on message boards prior to social media.
Right.
So absolutely.
Yeah. Every TV show I ever liked, I found if not an official message board, that a fan site that had a message board for it. So I was all over that at the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Zach, should we tell our Pop-Tart message board story? Remember that? All right. Spider-Man 1, 2002. On the back of Pop-Tarts, because Spider-Man and the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie was coming out.
Because Avi Arad was going to be a whore and put Spider-Man on everything.
So on the back of the Pop-Tarts, they said, hey, if you want a special, I don't even know what the prize was, but you go to this website and you can get a code. And if you enter the code, we'll send you the prize. What's the prize?
So the prize
was
a Flash-based Spider-Man game that you could play in your browser. It was basically, if you ever played like Candy Stand or whatever, that was like the only thing we could play in school. Like if you, like once you got done with all your homework at the time, like, oh, you can go to Candy Stand and play these ridiculous games. But yeah, no, yeah, it was a Flash-based game. And they were kept asking for the third code, and we didn't have it. I think
the message board was hammered with people saying, "I need the code. I need the code. I need the code. I need the code." Because there weren't that many Spider-Man websites out there, especially places where you could enter data. So the message board was filled with people asking for Pop-Tart codes on the Crawlspace message board. So that was nuts.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, that's what that was. I even have a box somewhere on the shelf because I have fond memories. I'm like, when I was at the grocery store, I'm like, I buy one. I got to buy one of these boxes.
You know what we should do? We should epoxy resin it.
What? No, the Pop-Tarts are no longer in the box. I just have the box.
No, I'm just saying we should resin the box.
Oh,
good Lord. No, that was
part.
That was the original iteration of the message board too. That was like right around the time
BraveNet.
The BraveNet was the first, and then you had the Matt Scripts boards. That was the second. That's when I joined. I started. Brad, it's official. We've known each other for 20 years.
Wow. There you go. 20 years.
I joined in 03.
2003. That's crazy. Yeah. Happy anniversary. Let's go to Vegas, baby. No.
How long have I known you guys? I've known you guys since like 2014, 2015.
Yeah, that's about right. Because you started writing the front page reviews.
Doug and Derek, we've known each other 44 minutes and 22 seconds.
Hey.
What are your first impressions?
Hey, they're great dudes. They should do this video thing more often. They're naturals.
We're almost at the 45-minute anniversary. I look forward to it.
Oh yes, it'll be 1 hour.
Has this been longer than some relationships people have been in? Maybe. I don't know.
Easily.
Someone's only been married for an hour.
Oh boy. I've been married for an hour twice. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what happened to all my hair was that my first ex-wife got all half of it in the divorce. So
What's my excuse? I've been married 18 years this summer.
You know, I don't know what your excuse was.
Third time's a charm, Zach. We're gonna find a woman.
Listen.
If you're in chat and you're single and you're ready to mingle,
Oh God!
Zach is ready.
No.
Now I'm gonna get bombarded with
Pop-Tart.
no. I'll get a bunch of text messages from women from the Philippines trying to chat me up for some reason. But God. Okay, so Derek, Doug, what are your favorite Spidey? Like, do you have a favorite Spidey cartoon? Is there like one that like you put up there as like this is my favorite, or is it like are they all your favorites now?
Oh, they're definitely not all my favorites.
Oh God, no, yeah. And I think that that's like almost a tricky question because I feel like there's like stuff that we love for very specific reasons, and then also I think for both of us, the things that would be like this is probably the best Spider-Man cartoon, just like objectively may not necessarily be the same as our favorite, if that makes sense. Because I mean, I have a lot of love for Spectacular Spider-Man, and I also would think I know it's not that's not like a hot take or anything. A lot of people regard that as the best Spider-Man cartoon and everything. I really still love that one a lot. I think it just holds up extremely well. And it's not even a nostalgia thing because I was an adult when I first watched it, and you know, like it's just a good show. So I have a lot of love for that one. I really love the Spider-Woman cartoon from the 70s. It's just a fun, bizarre, like surrealist, absurd cartoon.
It really is.
Some of my favorite just bananas nonsense in it. And it's just so I just feel so good and full of joy whenever I watch an episode of that, even when it doesn't make any goddamn sense at all.
I need to watch that. I watched in the 70s as a little kid. It's on Disney Plus, and I keep meaning to watch it.
It's so fun.
It's insane, huh?
Yeah.
There are moments where we just fully lost our minds talking about certain things that happen because they're just inexplicable happenings. But it's good and it's fun, and it's not like the kind of nonsense that's frustrating. It's the kind of nonsense that you're like, I don't know how they came up with this, but I'm living, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Now, Brad, did you ever watch the 80 syndicated show, or was it just Amazing Friends?
Oh, the only way I saw the 80s syndicated shows when they re-released them on VHS. And I got the Black Cat one. There was one where he shrunk, I think. But no, the 80s was not syndicated in St. Louis as far as I knew. But and that was released almost the same time as Amazing Friends, if memory serves.
Yeah, they were
And how many of those are there? Like they're on Disney Plus, like 20 plus or 30 of them?
For the 80s show, I think it's only like 26 episodes. I think it was only just the one order, and then Amazing Friends is like a few more than that.
I should watch it because same production company, Marvel Productions, I think. It's very similar animation to Amazing Friends. Yeah,
they were basically like almost shared productions, but not really. Like it was just basically the 81 show was syndicated. I think that one was produced first, but then NBC was like, we want our own Spider-Man show. So then Amazing Friends was made in conjunction just as a network show. So it got more attention because it wasn't syndicated, but
the 80s,
you know, they saved, they shared music and character designs. Tons of DNA. The only main difference is that Peter Parker and Aunt May's voices are different between the two. Because I guess one was too busy with the other. I don't know.
And creative crossover, I should clarify. Creative crossover, not actual universe crossover.
That 81 show was intended to be a Monday to Friday show, right? I think
it was a syndicated show. But I mean they didn't order more than like 26 of them, so it still kind of came and went.
Pretty short run.
Yeah. Well, I mean that was kind of a standard thing. Especially back then, but yeah, it was supposed. All I knew is that it was supposed to be syndicated, and you know, funny thing is, we use that word syndicated, and there's like kids younger than Neil that have no idea what syndication means.
Yeah,
Star Trek: The Next Generation, first sci-fi drama, I think that was syndicated.
Yeah. I think it was. I think it was DS9 that was syndicated.
Next Gen.
Next Gen was syndicated. Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of serialization. I'm sorry.
Oh no,
Yeah.
syndicated. Sold to different networks. They could air it at any time they want,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
you could watch Next Gen or the Spider-Man show.
TOS also was syndicated too.
No, it
that-
aired on NBC, but then it got
Was it?
syndicated after it wrapped up.
That's what I meant.
Okay.
Because
I mean, reruns are often
was-
syndicated.
Yeah.
Is the thing.
That was-
It's like
yeah.
first
Yeah.
run syndication is a very different thing
Oh, okay.
than like rerun syndication.
Back to you,
yeah.
we were talking about Marvel Productions. They had a great run, and I always thought it was cool at the end of a lot of 80s cartoons when it said Marvel Productions and Spider-Man would leap down on the logo.
Like the
and I think it
Silver
was-
Spider-Man.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was that, and he was at the end of Transformers. Well, maybe not Spider-Man, but the Marvel Productions thing was at the end of
Mhm.
Transformers. It was at the end of G.I. Joe. It was even at the end of Muppet Babies,
Yep.
which I
Mhm.
thought was cool too.
Mhm.
So
Dude, the Muppet Babies crossover episode's awesome.
I
Right.
saw that too. Animal
Yeah.
gets a Spider-Man suit.
Yes.
And I think Animal was voiced by Howie Mandel, and who also did Gizmo in the Gremlins.
So, prop time, Brad. This brings back memories, doesn't it?
Okay.
If you've not read this book with great
Mhm.
power, it does talk a little bit about the Marvel animation. It's not as much because it's mainly focusing on Spidey on film, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. Also goes into quite a bit of the Into the Spider-Verse stuff as well. So Sean O'Connell is the editor over at Cinema Blend, and he wrote that book. So highly recommended.
Nice.
Are you guys okay? So have y'all done a review yet of? I'm sure y'all have. You did the review of Into the Spider-Verse, right? Have you, even though it's not on TV, obviously it's a animated
Oh yeah,
series.
yeah, we
Yeah.
did. I think we've done it maybe twice. I'm not even sure.
No, it was very early in the life of our podcast. I think we could stand to do a
you know what?
revisitation of it.
It might have. Was it 2 episodes? We had such
was
a
2
long
episodes.
discussion. I think we actually split it into 2 different
Yeah.
episodes because we
Yeah.
talked for like maybe 3+ hours about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Right.
mean that's to us. It's cartoon we're using for just animated property, honestly. So we include that, and we've covered in some way every Spider-Man or Spider-Man movie or movie that Spider-Man has appeared in, but that typically will end up on our Patreon just because it's not a cartoon.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Brad, you started your Patreon in what year was it? 2019 or 2018?
Sure. Yeah, that's about right. I don't know. I don't remember, honestly.
Honestly, I don't remember either. That's pretty sad because I used to be your site historian. I used to be the one that cataloged all that crap. No, it's not crap, Brad. That's what let me rephrase. But so when you guys set up, Doug and Derek, when you guys set up your Patreon, what was the mindset of like, hey, how can we make this like valuable to those that are contributing to the Patreon?
It's a great question. Patreon is a challenge. I think for us, Patreon is largely a way for us to do other stuff without complicating our main feed. And it's a way for folks who like to hear us talk to get more of that, whether it's about Spider-Man or not. So sometimes there's stuff on there that might be animated stuff or Spider-Man adjacent or things made by creators that work in Spider-Man properties, but we wouldn't put it on the main feed because that complicates things.
Mhm.
I think our idea for what Patreon was when we started it might not be what our
Yeah.
Patreon is now.
I think we
Um,
oversaturated it a little bit early. And I think that, Patreon, there's obviously a challenge with it's hard to tell what people are like actually. If you have bonus episodes, you can't really keep track of who's listening to those bonus
Mhm.
episodes unless people are explicitly commenting and telling you that they listen to it. And so
Yeah.
it was hard for us to really tell, like, we're not really like, are people even listening to some of these things or not? It's really hard to tell. And
You got to
I mean,
throw a hell yeah in the comments, or else we have no idea
Yeah,
if you
but-
really liked it.
Chat,
But,
throw hell yeah in the comments.
but it was very much sort of like, kind of a cost benefit analysis kind of thing, where it's sort of like the amount of time we're putting into these bonus episodes, while they're fun, if people aren't really engaging with those as much as they're engaging with the main feed. you know, we eventually kind of scaled it back, and no patrons like complained about it or not. So we still have bonus content on there, not nearly as much. And we do still have a big archive of stuff from past years, but you know, it's just a little bit less, and people don't seem to mind.
I think we found that the people who want to support us on Patreon are doing it because they want to support us, not necessarily because of the content that is over there.
Yeah, that's just kind of a bonus, pretty much. Yeah.
Brad, I mean, I know you've done a little bit of Patreon stuff since I left, but like, kind of describe what your mindset is when it comes to the Patreon.
The Patreon, I talked about previously, in the fact that it costs money to do what we do. It costs money for equipment. It costs money for a microphone. It costs money to host a website. It costs money to host MP3s on a server. It costs money for a ring light. It's nice that people enjoy what we do, and they are willing to support it and pay for it. And the Patreon members help pay the bills. And how I thank them. I do an exclusive show, The Spider Satellites, where, by God, we review 20 plus issues a month.
God,
which is painful, but I think they enjoy it. And when Neil starts cooking, that's even better. You what?
I don't miss that part. I don't lie.
He's sitting us down this weekend to.
Yeah, this weekend we're going to review. My God, 22 books, 23 books.
That's not the worst. I think the
we
worst
reviewed a long box once, didn't we, Zach? No, just kidding.
No, I think seriously, the worst one we did was it 35? Because it was during one of the events, and we were covering every Spidey book.
Oh yeah, King in Black. That was awful.
We're trying to do a little different. Trying to speed run through that many books. Yeah.
We cover like a 3 comics in one episode. Like, y'all are nuts for that.
Yeah, indeed.
Brad is insane.
We've started doing it a little faster. That show like that, I get bored if you go too long on the recaps. I want to hear your opinion and get out. But anyway, that's an exclusive thing, and people get that. At one level they get the audio, at another level, Patreon, they get the video. There's another level where you get behind the scenes. If I got somebody cool coming on, I give info to them first. Patreon started a thing with merch, which is really nice. I like. People have got Crawlspace t-shirts, and one dude is getting a Crawlspace hoodie. I'm sure George hates that, but there's a Crawlspace hoodie coming. There's a Crawlspace hoodie. Anyway, you just send them the image file, and they make the merch. They take a cut of your percentage of your profits, but they make it and ship it. You can't beat that. So Patreon, I think in the past, I've looked for sponsors. I've tried Google Ads. I had a good. You what?
When I was streaming on Twitch back in the day, back in 2 years ago, there was a merch feature, and it does the same thing that Patreon does, but more direct and less cutting the middleman out.
But if I had to say, Patreon has been the most successful with a consistent money supply to help pay the bills than anything I've been doing since in 25 years. So I really like Patreon. I think it's very user-friendly. I think it's easier for people to sign up, and it's easy to upload content to it. Doug and Derek, you were talking about how you don't know who's listening to what. I agree, that is a problem. It would be nice if we had views under it. One way I can tell, when I share the exclusive hidden YouTube link, I can see the counter of how many viewed it on YouTube.
Yeah, that's definitely an advantage of using YouTube for that.
Yeah. And you can throw audio up on a YouTube channel too, and just like an image or something. You could see views that way.
Well, it's a little more pain in the butt on that though, Brad, because you have to get like a specific format. Because I've tried doing that with like the old Vault shows. I call them the Vault shows because they're the completed shows. And I just don't have the software yet. I'm getting some more equipment for school, and they're included with that's Creative Cloud. So I'm going to have all that fun stuff.
Yeah. I got in Photoshop, etc.
Yeah. Uploading to YouTube is also just another thing to do. So
absolutely, we all have day jobs. Yeah, this is a side hustle. This is a little hobby. All of us. This is. Would you guys like this as a full-time job? I don't know if I would.
I don't think
I could. I don't think I could talk about.
I
mean,
would
it as a
happily
full-time-
podcast as my full-time job.
Yeah,
if it
But
would pay
not
bills,
necessarily just exclusively Spider-Man, but just
Yeah.
like
Okay, so,
podcasting
yeah.
in general.
Brad,
yeah.
Brad, I work retail. I will take anything that isn't that.
Yeah.
It'd
You
be
s-
fun,
you
but I
act-
don't think I
you-
could talk about Spider-Man 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. I really.
No, that
Just
would be
just go on
you-
Twitch.
you'd have to like for me, I'm going into specifically my niche will be probably sportscasting. So I'll be talking the good thing about sports is there's multiple sports, right?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But like when you're the only way I think you could probably make it work from a standpoint, we couldn't do you couldn't probably just do Spider-Man. You might be able to do Marvel and then pick out other
Yeah.
specific characters or media maybe, but yeah, that would
I mean,
be
Doug,
that's
Doug and I
why-
both have multiple podcasts like that
Yeah.
are unrelated. So
Oh.
that's yeah. I mean that's just thing. You just
Yeah.
you don't have to have one show and make that your full-time job. I don't know that any professional podcasters that weren't already celebrities or whatever. I don't feel like that's what any of them do. I feel like it is just sort of like maybe you create your network that has different media related things or tangential related things, or you generally talk about animation or something
Yeah.
like that. You know,
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was talking with. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
But that's one of the reasons that Zach and I are doing Books of X is that it gives us a chance to talk about something that's not Spider-Man and diversify our portfolio. And I've also got some other stuff in the pipeline that may or may not come to pass, but it gives us a chance to talk about something that isn't Spider-Man and it kind of lets us freshen up our brains from the brain rot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess I'm the only one that doesn't have a network. It sounds like you guys do multiple different shows
Mhm.
and
unrelated, but not necessarily
they're
on the same network. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
our
could see myself
Spider-Man-
doing. Yeah. Go
Our
ahead, Doug, I'm
Spider-Man
sorry.
show is on a network, but our
Right.
other shows are not. So
Yeah.
both Derek and I have done shows that aren't part of the same network. I mean, you could create a network out of everything we do because it's technically all media critique, right? So like there is still a thematic through line, but you know, it just depends on what that project
I'm
warrants.
curious
Well-
about the network aspect of it, and I don't think I have enough time to do a network or juggle other people's shows and
It's a lot of
and
work.
how do you
we,
do
we
that? How do you?
don't run the network. We are one of the
Okay.
shows on the network. So
Okay.
we're in a nice position where we don't necessarily have to worry about the logistics of managing a network, although I do think that would be interesting to me. But again,
Yeah,
it would have to be a full-time job.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm trying to do it as a side
Mhm.
thing.
I can tell you because like I don't do all the shows on Spidey.
Right. For sure. Yeah.
Because I like you say, time is money, right?
And I don't know that's what people are looking for from a network. It's just one voice, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can have one channel like people just like anybody else, but you need a diverse amount of people. I mean, I do the show with Kelly here on the YouTube channel, but then like the Salby Summer show, Gargoyle show, those are done completely independent of me. I'll be a guest star on the show, but I don't handle that. Like I handle the website stuff for them and I help that aspect. And I use WordPress just like Brad does. So, you know, unless there's a technical issue, then I can, you know, everything's independent. They do all their stuff. I mean, in fact, because Greg Brad, you know how Greg Wiseman is. He's a Luddite, right? He's using Zoom now. He's actually
that's good.
joined the 21st century but only because he had to do it for work.
Oh, that's funny.
So they use
Yeah,
Zoom.
I think I remember calling his cell phone to interview him back in the day.
If it wasn't his cell phone, it was his landline.
Yeah, probably.
He also has the nicest office I've ever seen. It's like one of those offices that you like look at like on TV, and you're like it's like it looks like a library behind him. I'm like, dude, it's like paneling. It's really nice, but you know, because of using Zoom, you know, that gives us an aspect for Patreon. So I'm always curious. I'm always looking to pick people's brains when it comes to the Patreon because I want to make sure that there's value there, right? Because you're literally paying for the content. So I got a few questions.
Yes, what's up?
Duke was asking, what do you want in the comments? And
Questions.
I was saying put a hell yeah in the chat, but that's long gone. So Duke has a bunch of costumes or a bunch of questions. Sorry, Freudian
He
slip
probably
there.
has a lot of costumes too. I don't know.
He has two comments that are the same one. If you got to create a Spider-Man costume, what would it look like? I don't know, dude. I guess.
I mean, you guys. I'm not.
I'd make the black suit.
I think
You
that
just
one's already
create
been
one.
created, but I'm
I'd
not
make
sure.
I'd make a new one.
I mean, I appreciate the question. Here's my thing. I would love to learn to draw. My dad is a great artist. Like he can draw. I've just never.
Actually, I was drawing 2099 last night. And I might post.
Well,
that
I mean, out of everybody, Neil's, in my group, Neil is an artist. But so I would love to draw, but I just guess I need to get on YouTube like I do with repairing my dryer and watch a bunch of how-to videos to learn to draw. So, have you guys spoken about the new Spidey game? So have you guys? Have you played the game?
the first
So-
one. Sorry,
The first one, obviously.
Oh,
Yeah, so Derek and I both played the first one and the Miles Morales game, and we talked about those. Those are on our Patreon since they're technically not, cartoons.
Right.
And we just recorded, because that 10-minute gameplay dropped of Spider-Man 2. We just talked about that and threw it over on our Patreon as well. We're super stoked for that. It looks incredible.
I don't have a PS5 yet, but I will be getting one specifically for the game.
I was
Same here.
actually talking about that with
Same.
Brad last night in Facebook Messenger. I was like, I'm not paying $600 for a PS5.
I paid a
Just
I am.
to play.
That's
I
how much it
don't have that
costs.
kind of scratch. I don't have enough money to just buy for the flip simulator.
back,
Oh, I don't
back in
need to eat for
2000.
the next 3 months.
Back in 2002, I bought a PS2 to play the Tobey Maguire game
Yeah.
because I that was specifically why I bought it. And then I saw that the PS2 could backwards compatible. And then I bought the PS1 Spider-Man 1 and 2 game to play on that. So
The PS1 Spider-Man 2 game does not get enough love.
it doesn't. It's cool. I
It's-
don't remember
it's-
enough about the Electro one to have an opinion, but
Yeah, the Electro
It's
one
not as
was
good
okay.
as it's like this. It's not any better than the first one. I think it's fine.
Yeah,
It's perfectly
that-
fine.
that-
It didn't
that's
really
exactly-
improve enough on the first one or
Right.
anything. Yeah,
It's definitely, if you play them back to back, it's like playing one game.
yeah.
You could kind of say, but it's not like I'm looking at the improvements based on that 12-minute footage that was released this week, as of when this recording.
it's beautiful, isn't it? Beautiful.
Oh,
So
dude.
pretty.
it looked like a movie. I mean, the
Oh, it
amount of
does.
power that they have in that game is amazing. So we'll definitely be talking about that. I'll be talking about that on
You
Wednesday.
see the web pits on Miles floating?
Well,
I was like, that's so cool.
You know what's funny is Derek and I were talking about it and we're like, gliding is cool, but we don't necessarily need it. But I saw somebody tweeting about how, like, the things that you can see in those 12 minutes that really show the power of this game and the system, and the amount of ground Miles covers from
Absolutely.
one, like, middle of the city to one other end of the city, and how
Mm.
fast he does it is actually kind of incredible. And I hadn't thought about that. And I
Also
do
with-
think the
also with
gliding
much
was
more
meant to, like,
detailed
show that
textures.
off.
That makes sense.
Also with
Yeah.
much higher texture in terms of detail.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was like,
Ray
oh man,
tracing.
I should probably recontextualize my thoughts on that.
Day,
Yeah,
day
that makes
one,
sense.
day one purchase for me. I'm down.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Day
Yeah.
one.
For sure.
If I didn't have to buy a PS5 for it, day one buy. But
you're gonna play it when it comes on PC, because what you did is you invested in a badass gaming PC.
There you go.
That's
You'll slowly play it.
There you go.
yeah,
Ooh,
so
it's pretty.
that's-
It's
You know,
glowing.
When it's
that's
see
the-
through,
that's-
it's good.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But the RGB isn't glowing, so it's bad now. It's poopy.
All right, let's see. This is a great question by Andrew. What advice would each of you to someone would you give to each of us give to someone who was thinking about getting into podcasting? And we'll start
This-
with Wolloping guys first.
I think it's don't be afraid to just like try and do it, even if you have like a bad mic at first. But if you try it out and then realize this is something I really want to do, it is worth the investment to buy a better microphone at that point. I wouldn't immediately be like, I don't know if I'm going to like this and then spend like hundreds of dollars on the top of the line one. Don't do
Right.
that. But if you realize like, I am really catching the podcasting bug and I think I'm going to enjoy this, it is a worthwhile investment, to research, good microphones that, are within your price range, that, will make you sound better, because the better you sound, the better quality product you're putting out. And it is worth it.
And there are ways you can improve your environment with what you have and still sound okay with something like your headphone mic while you are trying it out. So,
yeah. I mean, Brad and I, we used to use, back in the day, we were using headsets for years. And then I got the condenser mic whenever I had my old roommate move in and we were podcasting together, because he got a mixer board. And so, using the condenser mic, that changed the thing. Now, I will probably be getting, eventually I'm going to upgrade to the Rodecaster pod mic, because I have a Rodecaster Pro. So I'm going to try to get everything Rodecaster, which, granted, that's going to give, because of the name, I'm going to have to pay extra money, because, it's like the Nike of, of audio stuff. But, but yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. Brad, what do you got in terms of advice for first time podcasting?
I would advise, again, start with what you got. Like you guys said, if you've got a microphone, if you got a little earbud that has a mic, you can start with that. But also listen to a lot of other podcasters and try not to copy it. If you want to write, you need to read. You need to read a lot. You need to listen a lot. You need to see, hey, what is this person doing? That's cool, but what's my take on it? I don't want to be the exact same copy or an inferior copy of something they're doing. So, like I told Zach years ago, you love the Clone Saga. Focus on that. You love the Clone Saga.
Yeah.
Do that.
And
That's your niche.
he did.
Yeah.
Oh, did
And he
I?
did.
Oh, did I?
And,
10 years of
Look
doing
at
the Clone
look at the top right corner. There's a freaking Ben Riley symbol up there. That's how focused
It looks like Mayday Parker to me, but anyway.
And sometimes that specific thing is more than just the topic, right? Derek and I knew there were Spider-Man podcasts out there, and we knew that there were folks talking about cartoons, but both of us have a background in literary critique, and both of us think about things like social critique and queer theory and stuff like that. And so we knew that the two of us both caring about those things was going to be specific to our voice covering those shows.
Yeah.
So how we talked about the MTV show, I guarantee you, is very different than how other people talk about the MTV show, just based on how
definitely. You definitely have a different experience with it than I do.
We don't like it,
and Zach.
but I think the way that we talked about it came from our experience, with literary critique,
Yeah. And kind of along those lines too, I think recognizing it goes part and parcel to listening to different types of podcasts. There are different types of podcasts that you can be that some people are better fits for than others. There's some podcasts that are purely conversational. There's some that are better structured, and some people are better for that and have heavy notes and are following that. Some are more heavily edited than others. Some are just being chill and just shooting the shit, it really just depends on what you're comfortable with and what you feel like you're at your best at. And sometimes it's trial and error. I know what Doug and I's earliest episodes of Wolloping Websnappers aren't necessarily the same as what they are now, because we just kind of had to get in our groove and get over our own weird what we were trying to do versus what we actually were good at. And that only you have to be open to you have to be malleable and kind of open to figuring that out as you're doing it.
Right.
So have a unique voice, listen and see what other people are doing and try to see what you can bring to the table. My other thought is, I personally like a little bit of a structure to a show. I don't like when I hear people reading scripts on podcasts. I don't like blah, 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 blah. What I like are bullet points, and you talk around the bullet points. So have a structure of your show. We're going to talk about this here, and then just start talking about it. But I don't like reading. I don't like reading text. I don't like listening as a listener to hearing people reading text. I like people talking like we're doing now. I'm not reading off a script. I'm just talking to you guys.
I mean, there's a difference between when you're scripting and you're doing it as a teleprompt type script.
Yeah,
but
I don't like teleprompters or teleprompt script.
But
I used to do that on live shots when I was a reporter. I used to have bullet points of things I want to talk about. I weave my way in like a web. I'd weave my way in and out of the talking points. and I knew how many talking points I could do in an hour show. My third suggestion is find somebody that you can bounce off of. When I started the podcast, I went to Kevin and Zach, and I know we were friends online, and I said I can bounce off of these guys, and I'll weave in and out the topics.
Let's be real. You carried us those first few episodes because we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. And
we can cuss. We can cuss on the Spideydude experience.
Oh, hell
yes,
yeah.
we can.
Brad,
you get one F-bomb, but you get more than one actually because we don't keep count.
No, I want to be gainfully employed.
But my thing, here's the thing. I learned a lot, and coming back to Derek and Doug's point, I learned a lot through osmosis with Brad. Kelly and I, we tend to script more with Make My Mayday because it's the two of us, and our ADD will go off into, into rabbit holes. So it keeps us kind of I don't read it word for word. We script it out, but I don't, I use that just kind of as a guide. I don't. And Mayday got in the,
right. Yeah,
I don't.
But it's about making the podcast you want to listen to, right? So like there are some podcasts I listen to that are definitely scripted and I like them. I don't know that I could make them. So like the podcast that I listen to that I'm like, I like this, I enjoy this, and I could make it, that made my decision for me, right? So if you do listen to podcasts that are scripted and you're like, oh, I actually prefer this and I think I could make that, go for it,
The another thing I would give to it in terms of advice is it's okay for people to not like what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And this is probably the hardest thing to learn because naturally we get defensive whenever somebody sits there and says, hey, you suck. I mean, Brad and I had heard it,
even from Marvel management.
I wasn't going to bring that up, but okay.
Even when you ban them, they still say you suck. I love it.
Well, you had to ban when you ban the writer of Amazing Spider-Man, they kind of get a little angry.
And he hacks back in.
To go off of Zach's, it's not as kind of cohesive as Zach's, but don't expect like immediate success right away. I know that's sort of a cynical way of looking at it, but focus on something that you really enjoy and build your following from that rather than jumping on a trend and hoping you get the audience through that. It's a more organic way of viewing the world, I guess.
If you're not having fun with it, regardless of success, don't do it.
Somebody told me once that if you're still having fun after 7 episodes, you're probably on the right track. And if you're not having fun before that point, stop.
Yeah.
There's been a few times, and Zach, you can probably relate to this. I need a break. I've been doing this since 2006. Sometimes
and you've done it. I haven't been keeping up as much as I used to, but I mean, you had only 1 month that I can recall that you straight up took that entire month off because you were so burnt out. Because
I just had to look there. We're up to episode 783, and I think there's been a couple times I've taken time off, but not more than a month, I think. Mm-hmm. But I still love it. And if I didn't, and this isn't work. This isn't work what I'm doing right now, talking to you fellas. It's not generally doesn't feel like work when I put together a rundown for a show or I try to book the people that are going to be on the show or stuff like that. That doesn't feel like work. Occasionally it feels like work. And then I just need to mentally chill for a little bit. But also to Zach's point about how you're not going to please everyone. People are not going to like what you do. Mm-hmm. I said earlier I was a reporter for years. There was a woman that wrote into the news station on handwritten paper and put every anchor, every reporter, and next to their name was their flaws. He needs to get a nose job. She needs to shut up. Brad needs to lose weight and grow hair. Just all these things.
Oh my God.
Just I can imagine the hatred of the woman and the woman whose life she is living, where she has a sheet of paper, hand writes hatred on the sheet of paper, puts in an envelope, licks the stamp, and then mails it, and wants a reaction from something. And people are like that on the internet. They are like that. They will chat in your comment section. They will chat. They will share your video, and they say these people suck. I offer, what is your better show. What are you contributing besides hatred out there?
I was going to compare this to kind of what's going on in Spider fandom right now, the kind of brain rot that that discourse has molded around, and it's kind of like that's not really healthy. Let's take a step
Doug
back.
and Derek, you guys, most of the Twitter stuff that I've seen with you guys has been pretty positive, but I've joked that Spider-Man Twitter has been like a knife fight for the last couple of years.
We don't fuck with any of that.
No,
I truly do not neither know nor care about any of whatever that is.
Zach, it's not a knife fight. It's an unsanctioned cocaine-fueled wrestling match.
That's true. It's escalated.
I'm curious, Zach, because you guys are on Twitter more than I am. I prefer Facebook. I prefer Discord.
He's smarter than I.
What is unique about Spider Twitter fandom? And are these just a bunch of young teens that are just keyboard pirates that just love to vent?
That's part of it. I would say that there's a lot of takes that.
Is it a younger demographic there?
I don't know.
I don't think it's just younger folks.
It's not.
It's across the board.
It's across the board. It's not just a youth thing.
It's people who've gotten too comfortable with anonymity.
That's part of it too, and there's a lot of. I've had to reel myself in because I've only gotten really into Twitter over the last couple of years. Because I mainly use it for promotional stuff. I have used it to make contacts and stuff like that. I mean, that's how I got the interview with Sean, for example, was through Twitter. So there's been some positive stuff that I've had with it, but there's like a lot of people that that are in your comment section that they have this take and they believe in it. And if you challenge it, it is like the worst thing in the world, and especially going on with the Zeb Wells stuff. I mean, especially with the Kamala Khan reveal last week, or was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I can't remember.
Time at the flat circle doesn't matter at this point.
That reminds me of like social media around election time with the posting of political stuff. No matter where you fall on the political spectrum, I have friends, family that are posting stuff. I don't think anyone's mind has been changed by a Facebook post on an election or much more on a Spider-Man take. You're just venting, and to hear yourself vent, I don't really get it.
Real quick, Brad, Duke asks if you sent her a picture of your face back so that she could see it more.
I sent her a finger on a Xerox. No.
Oh, I thought you like actually sent her a
snap,
actual
finger. It was the middle finger. Yeah.
What are you, a mobster? What the hell?
I sleep with the horses.
That's some like Breaking Bad shit right there. Just me on my finger.
I'm Heisenberg suddenly.
Actually, Duke had a really cool question. If you got to create a villain, what would they be like? I'm kind of curious to hear some input on this.
Oh, we've done this. I'm trying to remember some of our villains.
I've thought about this a lot before because I've sent it to Brad and Zach. Like I came up with an idea of like what I would have done for a Spider-Man run, and I wouldn't create a villain. I would just kind of retool some of the older ones to necessarily fit the time.
You're doing existing properties. That's much easier to do.
Yeah.
That I've talked about a lot because a lot of my favorite villains that I would like to see more of are one-off villains from the 60s show. And I think some of those could very easily be revived and recreated by the right creator in a comic form.
And
Parafino,
Parafino is one of the Cyborg Fifth Avenue Phantom is one of my favorites.
And to go to the distinguished competition across the country, the Cyborg comic that's coming out is retooling a bunch of villains from the Teen Titans cartoon that were created for the series and porting them into the comics, which I think is a cool idea.
I mean,
that's what Harley Quinn did.
Yeah.
I mean, some elements that we see in animation, for example, I mean, circle back to the PS5 Spidey. I mean, the whole Peter's, consciousness being influenced by the symbiote, that was something that was purely introduced by Semper's 90s show. And John Semper likes to take credit for a lot of shit. But
didn't he create this show and mine and yours and the whole internet?
That's been the running gag.
He created the Spider-Verse.
But there's certain things that he did in his show that he can take absolute credit for. And the turning of the personality turning of Peter with the symbiote is certainly that thing. Because in the original comics, that wasn't that way. Now, and eventually that got ported into the comics. It just kind of bled in. But
another example of the cartoons merging into the Spider-Man was Firestar. Firestar was introduced in the cartoon, then introduced into the comics, so she was so popular.
But I think part of the problem that I've had with not only not the Wells run, but the Spencer run kind of highlighted for me was Kindred was more a not even a thematic villain for Spider-Man. It was just, hey, here's this thing. Oh wait, it's actually another. I think if I ever wanted to make a Spider-Man villain, I kind of want them to have a thematic foil to Peter, both in civilian and in Spider-Man form.
That's the best.
I just think we need to stop doing mystery boxes. I think mystery boxes have ruined Spider-Man fundamentally.
Yeah, I opened a mystery box earlier today. All right, and hey, we got somebody jumping in on the stream. Hello, Collier. He is also a fellow podcaster, so hello. He said he was running late, so here he is. So, ow. I just smashed my hand on my damn desk.
Tell us about Collier's show.
Yeah, Collier, he did a show called Across the Spider-Cast, and it was kind of different Spidey stories. It was, very, select a story, and you kind of, because that's when I was on the show, that's what I did. I talked about Spider-Man, the Lost Years, a Clone Saga story.
Of course.
But Collier, are you there? Can you hear us? I only see a black box.
It's very dark where CJ is.
All right. Well, we'll hopefully CJ can jump in and his audio will work. Okay, so let's go back to some of the questions. Brad said it's safe to say you've been doing it long enough for syndication.
I have more than what's the magic number? I think 100 episodes you get syndication.
Yeah.
And I'm on episode 780 something.
Doug and Derek, I think you guys are there too, aren't you?
Yeah, we're almost at 200.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
We're at this show is at 60. Now, if I combine like all the other shows,
oh sure,
I think it would be 300 plus.
I'm disgustingly organized, unfortunately, so I don't let Zach get away with legacy numbering.
Yeah.
Here, I'm curious. How often do you guys record, Doug and Derek?
We release an episode every week, so we record typically every other week.
Yeah, we'll record like 2 at a time usually, and that's just, that's on a normal when like nothing else is going on. Obviously, that's not counting any like bonus stuff or whatever that we're doing. So
yeah.
How often do you record?
So
whenever we can get 2 or more people into a room together.
Well, no, it's not even that. We've been consistently inconsistent. So I would say we usually record at least twice a month, if not 2 to 4 times a month. So like when I'm doing my Mayday, like this year we've done 2 episodes per month, like very regimented. Problem with Make My Mayday is now we've gone through all of the MC2 that was done by Tom and Ron, and now we're getting into the slot era of books, and so we're slowly running out of material.
Quick, Marvel, make another Unlimited comic.
Don't.
I'm very similar with Zach in the fact that I try to do twice a month.
Yeah.
I do a show, Spider History with JR, and we try to record 3 in a row that I can release 1 a month with that. But
talk about the evolution of the show. We used to do the show, one show,
1 month, one a month, right?
And it was like an hour and a half, and we could do the entire month's worth of show in an hour and a half.
And
you started segmenting, and as that evolved,
that could have been a network kind of thing, because they are kind of different shows. There's a review show, there's a news show, there's a Patreon show, there's a Spider History show, there was a Fight Club show. Those could have been separate shows, but I just put them all in the main feed.
Mm-hmm.
But
your tagline is all Spidey all the time. So
yeah,
it is that way. Collier, can you hear us? Can we hear you? The question. You're
I
muted.
see the comic binge, and
I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you.
All right, cool. Hello. Introduce yourself to the guys here, Collier.
Well, hello everybody. My name is Collier Jennings. Most people know me as CJ. I am a comic book journalist, and for 2 years I did my own Spidey themed podcast, Into Spidercast, where my co-host Swara and I would often talk everything Spider-Man and try to spotlight all the different characters, storylines, etc.
All right. So thanks for being on the show. I'm glad that we got to have you, because like this was me about bringing people together, because like it was for a long time it was just me and Brad on an island together, and we had a lot of fun on our island. But you know, the going back to kind of what I was asking earlier about, like the community of podcasting has just grown exponentially, and we can make some connections here. You know, we're all about making connections and making friends. You know, making a community, because I mean we really are. Now, I mean, everybody's got a podcast, like you guys said earlier. So, Comic Bench, obviously, we were streaming live on their channel as well. So, hello to Paul. Thank you for allowing us to have the space to be streaming live here on YouTube.
Real quick, Peter Palmer asked a really weird, not a really weird, but a really good question. What kind of content do you wish took off better? I've got a lot of things that I wish took off better in my life.
I'm interested to hear this from the Wolloping Web Snapper guys. What do you wish that took off better on the?
I don't know if exactly what your question is. It's not a content type really, but we did an April Fool's episode years ago that we basically made up a fake Spider-Man show and made up an entire history for it and just improv'd an entire episode conversation about it. Like we improv'd as if it was a normal episode that we were just discussing. We had kind of our bare idea of what an episode of that fake TV show we created would be, and then we just improv through our conversation and critique over the plot of an episode that didn't actually exist.
Doesn't exist. And we usually will have plot points. Basically, we usually go beat by beat for episodes. So we have those beats in a document. And so for this, we had to fully improvise what happened, not even necessarily knowing what the other person was going to bring up. And did it, I would say, very successfully.
I think we really pulled it off. And I mean, it was basically just a real episode of our show that just happened to be about a show that never existed.
As an April Fool's show.
Yeah. And we really enjoyed doing it a lot. And I think we were really, it was a lot of work. Because like I said, we made an entire like background just to pull from for our conversation that didn't necessarily all come up within the episode. But just like we just didn't get any feedback on it at all. Like we know people listen to it based on the numbers of downloads and stuff, but nobody talked about it. Like even just to be like, what the hell was that, guys? That was weird. Like we didn't even get negative feedback, just zero reaction, which was just a weird type of reaction to get for something like that. So we never did anything like that again, because it's sort of like, if no one cares about it, then we're not going to put the work into it. But I think we still had a lot of fun doing it. So we kind of are sort of like, I wish somebody had said that they listened to it at least so we'd have known.
We did like a whole behind the scenes for the process because we thought it was like such a fun novel thing that was like a unique drop.
Yeah.
And no one even was like, huh, that was neat. Like no one said anything at all.
God. Okay. And that I'll say this. That's like the kiss of death for something.
Yeah.
If you're content creating, is when nobody says anything and you're going, okay, do you like this? Do you hate this?
Right.
But it was listened to as much as anything else, which was what was so strange. It's not like no one listened to it, or we had numbers where it was like, wow, no one said anything, but it 10 times the number of listen. Like it was just as if we dropped a totally regular episode about like, you know, Spider-Man 1981.
It was just like this steady stream, and you were expecting a dip or maybe a rise, and it just was like, all right, that was a thing.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Brad, you got anything?
Oh, I have pretty much the same answer what the fellows just said. One of the most frustrating things, and if you like something, please comment. Like these guys just said, we put a lot of time and effort in it, and we do see the numbers. You all aren't ignoring it. You're watching some of these stuff we put up or we broadcast, etc. But we don't hear feedback, and we think, well, sometimes we only hear feedback of negativity. Sometimes. Which is frustrating too.
Oh yeah.
But I have some articles that some of my guys on the website write, some spider history stuff, etc. And they put a lot of time and research in them. And I know people are reading them. They're just not commenting sometimes. They just read it and go on. So also some main front page reviews. The Amazing Spider-Man reviews often get comments. But something like a Spider-Woman issue that someone wrote up, hand wrote, read it, put images up, no comments. So I feel bad for the people that write the handwritten reviews on the front page. But if you like something, comment. At least say, yo, that was well written. That doesn't take more than 3 seconds to do, and hit send. You know? But yeah. But I feel the pain of putting up content. The numbers back it up that they like it, but they didn't say a damn thing about it. I hear you fellas on that very, very well.
It's like when they added the view count to a tweet, and you can see how many people saw your tweet, and you can also see that one person liked it.
Absolutely. It's so frustrating as a content creator. I agree 100% on that.
Sorry about the hum. All right. Collier, can we hear you? You got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I definitely feel like it is very frustrating to kind of, put your work, heart, and soul into something and it not take off. Like, when doing Spidercast, I was trying to vary it from other stuff. We were trying to invite more diverse perspectives, more female fans, more people of color. And sometimes it would work, sometimes it didn't. Like, when we did comic reviews, they wouldn't take off, which kind of hit me because I really liked talking about, the history of comics, especially when it pertained to characters.
Right.
But on the flip side, we also got to bring on some folks. Like our final episode before we went on hiatus was with Jeff Trammell, the showrunner of Spider-Man freshman year, and that was really great. He was such a great person to talk to. And it's tricky. It's up and down. And
is that freshman year still happening?
Sure.
It should be. It probably pushed back.
Okay.
I don't think it was initially meant to be released for at least another year anyway. So
yeah. I anticipate that we'll hear or see something in San Diego. I feel like San Diego's kind of setting up to be a very big thing because you're going to have all the Phase 6 stuff probably going to be discussed and talked about, and it's going to be kind of teased out more. We're probably going to find out the Fantastic Forecast, I would think, especially because there's been a ton of FF rumors in terms of casting going on. So I would think we would get that confirmation. And I think that it's due an update. I mean, I know X-Men 97 is coming out later this year, and that has been confirmed. In fact, they're starting to do merchandise for it.
I want that Magneto helmet.
Yes, that Magneto helmet was amazing. I was like, oh,
dude!
Now I can launch the nukes.
Derek, Doug, did you guys see that Magneto helmet?
Yeah, it looks really cool.
I have not.
Brad, did you see it?
Maybe I did. It just looked like a Magneto helmet. I don't know if it didn't really stand out to me.
It's human sized. You can wear the helmet. You can launch the nukes.
What?
So Hasbro has been doing through the Marvel Legends banner.
Hasbro's doing it. How much is that? $150 helmet?
It is $99.99.
It's $99.
I was close. Yeah.
Look at this man. He's having the time of his life. Look at him being Magneto.
That is Photoshop.
Look at him go.
That is the exact pose I made when I saw it. I was like, "Give me,
let's go, baby."
Dude,
Kirby hand.
So that they're doing these like cosplay pieces that can also be displayable. Mm-hmm. I actually have that purple one that's from the X-Men Days of Future Past. I got that Hastings when Hastings was going out of business. So yeah, no, it's so that I mean. So we're going to see a lot more.
Oh wait, no, that's an owl.
I did see this helmet, and this might only mean something to Derek, but I saw a promotional image of it, so it was only like a portion of it. And Power Rangers has released helmets like this, and I was shocked that they were releasing a helmet from a series called Ninja Steel, which no one likes because this kind of looks like a Ninja Steel helmet.
It kind of does. Yep.
So for a second, I was like, "What an odd choice!" And then I saw it was Magneto.
Kind of looks like Bo-Katan. Now that
was that part of the Disney Power Rangers era?
No, it was part of the Neo Saban.
It was only a few years ago. That one.
It's a recent one, yeah.
Oh no,
there was a ninja one in the Disney era though, so you might be remembering that.
Oh yeah, okay.
That one is pretty beloved, actually. So
yeah, that one people do like.
Yeah.
I remember after In Space when the Zordon story kind of died out, that's when my fandom sort of died out too.
Yeah.
Well,
You and a
that's pretty
lot of other
normal.
folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're missing out on some of the best stuff, but that's pretty normal for most people.
Yeah.
Kind of dipped out around that.
Yeah, for sure.
Real quick, Matt. No, we did not. I know that Kelly and Sarah tried the Spider-Verse burger. I did not. I wanted the human burger, so I didn't go to Burger King.
I know Josh got paid to write an article to eat the burger.
Ooh.
I've
Because
tried.
That was
Burger
a
King
thing.
won't let me have it.
Burger King won't let you have it?
All my
Why?
Burger Kings are like they're all still basically in like lockdown mode for some reason. So I tried, and I don't care enough to figure it out.
It's just a red bun.
Yeah, Doug, if you've
It
had
has-
a Whopper, you had
It
one.
has Swiss cheese, though, you guys.
Yeah.
Representative of the spot.
I never thought of that.
Oh my god.
Okay, so all right, we're hour and a half in. Collier, any because since you came in a little late, any podcasting advice you would give to fellow podcasters or anybody that's starting to do like comic journalism like what you're doing? Got any advice for somebody that wants to do that as either a side hustle or doing the podcast and stuff?
Podcasting, podcasting, I would say, is not as hard as folks will be. You just need a topic, you need a host, and you need a schedule. It's all about scheduling. You got to, pick topics out at a time. Also, don't be afraid to shake things up. Like, you don't have to have like a rigid set format. Like, maybe you can do an episode like, okay, say I was talking Star Trek. I could be like, I could do an episode focusing on my favorite Star Trek movie one day, and then I could do another thing saying, how do I get folks into Star Trek? So, yeah. Also, pick something you are passionate about, because the best podcasts, they have passion behind them. They have folks who, want to talk about stuff. Like, we all, on some level, love Spider-Man. Ups and downs, we love this character and the mythos he has spawned. So whether you love anime, science fiction, books, cooking, whatever the projects, make sure you have good passion for it, and make sure you can find somebody who shares in that passion, because the best podcasts have great rapport, whether it's two or a horse. So if you can find somebody, a friend, a family member, somebody who you just click with, you're good. So it's just passion and patience are the two elements into a podcast.
Well said. I really that's kind of similar to what we had said earlier, but I wanted to get your take and your input. Now, there is somebody that wanted to jump in on the program, and I just sent him the link. And he is the.
Why did I send it to him if you were going to?
Well, I had Twitter open, so I was able to just.
Oh no, it's not one of those Twitter people. I'm scared. I'm scared.
No,
Oh.
Paul is the host of the Comic Binge YouTube channel. He does mainly comics in general. It's not just specific, like we are here. He's one of the co-hosts for Spideydude Experience, and he wanted to jump on and have a few words. So okay, Brad, do you have any funny podcast stories that you can tell that are safe for work that we can tell?
A couple of them. The first time, well, I can do one with you where you asked Peter David a question and inspired a Spider-Man story. That was cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
You
That
asked
was very
about
good.
Civil War and what was Jonah's reaction, and he asked his editors, and they said, "Well, you can write that story." And Zach inspired a Spider-Man story. That was cool.
Yeah.
Interviewed Ron Friends once, and he was on hour 2, and he had to take a leak, and he was on his phone, so I heard a little drizzle as he was talking to me. That was fun.
Yeah, I forgot. about
I once had JR in a hotel room, and the connection stopped disconnecting, so I had to, on the air, go, "Hey, I need room 743, please. I need room 743 one more time, please. 743."
that poor desk lady was.
That was fun.
That was fun.
Oh, that wasn't a podcast, but the kid who hacked the website, we called his mama. Yeah, that wasn't a podcast, though.
We got to explain that for context. Okay, so
yeah.
this guy hacked the website, destroyed our message board for like 24 hours, and we had his IP address, and through that we ended up getting his house number, and we called his mother.
His phone number.
And his mother picked up and was purely horrified. And it was, if you've watched A Christmas Story, you know that part where the bully, the bully's mom gets the phone call, right? That's what we imagined happened after that. Because
we could call the police. However, we think you can handle this.
He actually used my credentials to get access to the website, so that was it was a bad deal.
That was a fun story. The Pop-Tarts, Pop-Tarts. We talked about that one. That's about it. I mean, they come to mind.
I got to go to San Diego because of you, so that was fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It's nice to have that perk of getting a press pass and using the website. That's nice. Yeah.
Right. Any funny stories, Doug and Derek? What do you got in terms of your vast almost 200 episodes?
Yeah, we have a rule against anything funny, so no funny business. No, but there's certainly
the acid trip you made me watch, aka the 67 series.
Beg to differ,
that's
huh?
gold.
So no goofing?
No. We watch everything. So we watch all the acid trip episodes for sure. So
Yeah.
I mean, we lost our mind talking about the Frump episode. But there's Amazing Friends Frump episode. So a lot of it is you get to witness us kind of doing that, but some just highlights in general. We got to interview Jim Krieg, which was really, really exciting, and really shower praise on him for an episode I feel like people don't necessarily talk about a lot, which is the Hydro Man episode. We had a patron draw us spider sonas, which was super duper cool.
Yeah, I think, when you mentioned being on for the 67 show, I think there's been a few times when we've had people on who were just sort of they did not know what they were getting themselves into. But one of them, the last run, Shadia Amin, who is the artist on the Spider Ham Scholastic books. We had her on, but she'd never watched the 67 show before and was like, "What did you guys make me watch?" She hated it, but in a hilarious, beautifully funny, great, fun way. Watching
that show with people, because the 60s show we watch with people, right? We don't typically have guests, but for that we always have guests because it's such a fun experience to have either people who are familiar with it, who have nostalgia for it, or people who like Shadia were just like, what the fuck is this? What are you doing? Why are you even spending your time talking about this? It's incredible.
Isn't season 3 when it went really acid trippy?
Oh yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, the Ralph Baskin, is that it? Who did
Ralph Bakshi,
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I went and watched the Spider-Woman cartoon, and that's even not as strange as season 3, but
it's a different kind of strange.
It had some odd editing choices.
It's a bomb drop strange. You'll have kind of a standard episode, and then they'll just drop an absurdity bomb on you.
Yeah, it's narrative. The 67 show is the visuals are really weird and it's kind of psychedelic. The Spider-Woman show just narratively, it's sort of it really is just Mad Lib's plot sometimes.
For the first half of the episode, it's the standard 70s cartoon shit is happening, and then all of a sudden it just veers off into a different road. It's what is happening?
Who's the photographer with Jessica Drew on that show?
Jeff, the worst misogynistic asshole in the world.
I thought that was Peter. When I was a little kid, I thought that was Peter Parker, but it's not.
Peter's a good person.
Peter Parker can be weird about women sometimes, but Jeff is exclusively weird about he
What's an example? What does Jeff
That's his only character trait.
It's his only character trait. There's an entire episode that starts with Jeff basically cornering Jessica in a photo development room, a dark room or whatever. And she they even comment on how weird he's being, trying to basically make out with her or force her into a date in the dark room. He's just so weird.
I remember the episode with the aliens, and there are multiple
of those.
But the one
on so much right now.
But the one where Jeff and the 6-year-old leave Jess in the car to go look for help.
Yeah. They basically like half of the reason that Jessica Drew in that show is able to be Spider-Woman is because Jeff just assumes she's completely helpless, and so she'll just lean into that, and she'll be like, "Oh no, I fell out of a helicopter." And, like, that's her opportunity to like
gotta
switch
watch
into
this again,
Spider-Woman.
And
Yeah,
she has like,
yeah,
she has like a Sailor Moon transformation mid-fall.
Yep.
Oh,
Right.
my
And
God.
it's all because Jeff is so
Yeah.
confident that she couldn't possibly like walk right without help that like she can do whatever she wants and be
Jeff
like,
the
"Oops."
sexist. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
best episode of that show is Games of Doom. Just
Incredible.
for it's already a bizarre episode with like the Olympics and androids or whatever, but it's the ending that is beautiful. I'm not going to spoil it. If you've ever been on my Twitter feed, you probably see me reference it and not realize what I reference it from.
Mhm.
It is just the most nonsensical, unexplained ending, and it is beautiful. That's one of the episodes of our podcast.
If you haven't watched
Should I
it,
start with
it's-
that one? I should start with that one.
Sure.
Check it
I'll
out.
check it
Yeah,
out.
you can start with
I don't know
any
if
of them.
anything will live up to it. Like that's
Yeah,
the absurdity
it's
bomb drop, but
The most
Yeah,
amazing
that's
ending
fun.
to any TV show I've ever seen in my
so
life.
good.
So I think my favorite moment being on any podcast was Spider Presence for Christmas when I was on the show with Brad, George, Kelly,
That was
Mike,
fun.
and was
Oh.
it Ashley or JR?
They've all been on it. Yeah. I
But
don't
it,
remember.
but like you got me like some rando in El
Oh.
Paso to help me rock climb a building, and
That
then
was really
like,
funny.
and it escalated from there because everyone
so
thought I was
the absurd gifts. You went from giving them to me to giving them to Neil. Okay.
no,
No,
and
I
it, es-
I
but
hand
it
out Mountain Mini
escalated.
gifts.
Brad unfortunately started a chain of events, including an Optimus Prime beer keg, and eventually it spiraled into Kelly giving me the Spider Cat from the Miles Morales game, like the head costume of that, and Mike ended up giving me a silk jacket, and it escalated into me using the cat paws and the silk jacket to climb up the side of the building with this random dude in El Paso.
People don't know what
doing-
he's referencing. Every Christmas, we do spider gifts. We
Mm.
comb the internet looking for weird spider gifts to give the panel, and we show the image on the screen of what their gifts are. And
One time he
year
got
I
me
gave, I would tell them what I gave you, Zach.
He got me Spider-Man condoms that you can only get in Japan. Because at the time,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wolloping Web
Clear
Snapper.
about that, Douglas.
They're-
I ain't gonna lie.
They're whipped for your pleasure, Zach. Now,
I didn't need to,
Oh.
America, and even if I came,
all right.
Sorry, Colleen.
Cool. Okay.
We got a side
Um,
conversation going on.
Sorry about that.
Did the keg transform? No, it was just an Optimus Prime action figure glued to like the keg
Dude,
holder.
Some of the stuff
There's
that
a
you see on
Spider-Man
Etsy,
keg.
if you ever want to go down a rabbit hole, guys, go just look up Spider-Man Etsy and
Oh, I'm
Or just
sure.
Google images.
That's where we get
Ding.
half our images from.
Ding.
God, don't say ding.
Ding.
I have PTSD, Douglas.
Let's see. Matt asks, since you're talking about Spider-Man tunes, which one is your utmost favorite?
Amazing
Yeah.
friends.
Doug
think
didn't
I'm
get a chance
technical.
to answer when you asked us before. I just
Oh.
realized it was all me
Oh.
answering.
Yeah, we touched
I'm
on
sorry, yeah.
Spectacular because I think Derek and I are both in agreement that like objectively that is just like the best crafted Spider-Man show.
I'd agree.
Yeah. But I have-
Spectacular is definitely my favorite because
Yes.
it's just a great distillation of the Spidey mythos.
Yes, absolutely. But I have a really soft spot for Unlimited, which is a polarizing show, but a lot of folks coming out of the woodwork with him appearing in Across the Spider-Verse. So I'm finally finding my
Yeah.
people.
We were
I think
watching it and covering it like in 2020 too, and there's a lot of really
Mhm.
interesting.
Oh, yeah.
That show is like more political than I think people realize or
lot of
remember that it
commentary in
is.
there.
That are actually that's like this feels very contemporary to things that are happening right now
Yeah.
in the world. Actually,
Yeah.
One
Yeah,
of-
there's some really compelling stuff kind of happening in like behind all the weird sci-fi stuff that is really great.
yeah.
So I will use props to describe my it's a tie because like I can't pick one or the other. The 90s show.
Mhm.
This is the
Sure.
Yes.
Walmart exclusive action figure that I got thanks to Vinkman. Thank you, Vinkman. And then Spectacular. That little poster up there next to the action figures is actually the 10th anniversary gathering poster that they did like a gathering. It was Vic Cook, Josh Keaton, Sean Sheeks Galloway, who did the design of the animated series. They all got together and they kind of had that as like a little handout that Sean had designed, and I got that from my buddy Greg. So, yeah, Spec is always going to have a super special spot for me because of Greg Weisman.
Sure.
And I've been rediscovering, thanks to Disney Plus, Gargoyles, because I want to keep up at least as a listener with the show that's on my website.
I think I have it's a weird position for me because I think Spec is on a technical level and on a writing level the best one, but I have sort of a soft spot for the 90s show just because of how it has a weird charm to it that the others don't, probably because of the time it was produced in.
Well, it's also, I mean, it is a well done show though for what it was and everything. Like, I don't think that anyone, even nostalgia or not, I don't think anyone can be faulted for listing that as one of the best, because it does a lot of stuff really, really well.
And for the first time, like it really sort of set the bar for those shows that come after, as far as like, what do we clear or how do we move even further if we want to be a better Spider-Man show or the best Spider-Man show.
Yeah,
I think part of the reason I wouldn't like, I don't have the same love for it as everybody else does, at least within the communities I've kind of trifled in, is because I think it has a pacing problem. Like, as far as like it's sort of like the dub of Speed Racer, where everyone's just constantly talking over each other.
Like
and it's moving at lightning pace, and it's like, oh my god, please slow down. Let me think for a second.
Yeah, look, there's plenty of conversation about the animation and editing on that show and everything. So that's totally fair.
I make the John Semper
go ahead.
joke. I make a lot of John Semper jokes, but like, I mean, without him, I mean, between that and the Clone Saga, that was my gateway to Spider-Man. So like, I am thankful for him.
Yes,
but I get annoyed that he wants to take credit for everything. Not just, I mean, like the things he can take credit for.
But he probably, but honestly though, like, I don't really blame him for being salty, because there was a lot of trouble at Fox at the time, and also like, I mean, his concept for the symbiote, how that affects Peter. You talked about earlier. I'm sure he's not made a lot of money off of how the big blockbuster.
It's basically made its way retroactively into the comics.
Like, so it's in everything, and he's he's not getting compensated for that, I'm sure. So I don't blame him. It's all
completely redefined how animated, like what an animated Spider-Man show could be. Because if you look at everything before it, it was all very, even though they're different shows, they follow a very specific format, and he really was the one who's like had a vision for what it could be.
Yeah.
And so I get it. I mean, does he take credit for things that are easy to laugh at? Yeah, but he takes credit for a lot of things that he absolutely deserves that credit for.
Right. Yeah. No, I tend to, we all tend to, again, like what Brad said, we tend to focus on the negative, right? So obviously we make fun of that part, but you're absolutely right. There's some things that he did. I mean, bringing the serialized storytelling to animation, that's a game changer. Because
I noticed it a little bit before with X-Men. X-Men did that show with the continuity, and then Spider-Man came after it.
But Spider-Man did like seasonal arcs in a way that X-Men didn't do it, I think, as much. I think X-Men had a lot of continuity stuff that I think it really did. X-Men really did nail that in a way that not a lot of kids in American cartoons did at the time. Spider-Man, I think, really was sort of like, we can have a like what like Buffy ends up being acclaimed for later on, of like very defined, like, this season is this story, this season is this story, beginning, middle, and end, and then that continuity also leads into the next season. And I
there are seasons of Semper's show where it's like every episode is part next of the same, they all have the same title technically.
Like Neogenic Nightmare, it was like an entire season.
And I think
it was a whole season story,
and that is something that's, I think, is pretty novel, because was pretty novel at the time for that show, for sure.
And Weisman didn't, famously, because of, and he explains this because people have asked him, "Did you watch the '90s show?" He's like, "No, I never watched any of the other stuff because I didn't want to be influenced by it. I just did it based off of what the comics were." And that's why he did it the way he did it. But yeah, I mean. So that's why, to me, they're very spiritually, they're very similar. Brad, what was your answer? You got cut off earlier.
I think it's an age thing with me. The 90s show, I was in college, and I didn't want to get up at Saturday mornings and watch the show. But it was not my gate. It was not my gateway. Amazing Friends and and Electric Company was my gateway into Spider-Man. So I don't have the love or the awe-inspiring look at that show that some do. Like I would say people about 10 years younger than I am in their 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly think generation matters because
Yeah.
one thing that Derek and I see by covering every cartoon is that, you know, who responds to which cartoon we're talking about is almost predictable, right? Like we can kind of predict who is going to resonate with what and who isn't going to resonate with something else. So even things that I think a lot of folks who grew up with the 90s show or grew up with Amazing Friends hate, like Ultimate or 2017, we get those fans and we hear from them, and those like are those people's defining Spider-Man shows. And it's actually kind of like an unexpected benefit that I don't think we really thought about going into it, and it's been kind of a cool experience.
Yeah, we have like wildly different audiences at, you know, depending on where we're at in our podcast, which is really cool sometimes.
You know, there are definitely people who are like, Ultimate was my formative, or 2017 was my formative.
We got a lot of season 3 flack with Spec Radio because we have said very consistently that there will not be a season 3. Because it doesn't make financial sense, and we got a lot of pushback. But in the rant and the explanation that Greg made with Vic Cook on our last episode that we had with him, he made that point. He goes, whichever show you started with, you're going to probably think is the greatest one, whether that's my show or the other, whether it's the 60s show, whether it's the, you know, Amazing Friends, Spider-Woman, whichever one it is, you're going to think it's the greatest show because the nostalgia glasses are going to be there.
At the very least, it's your measuring stick. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And even in like the shows that I don't think are as good, like Ultimate or 2017, I credit them with a lot of things. I was mostly a Spider-Man fan, not until I watched Ultimate, but Ultimate actually got me introduced to a lot of the broader concepts of the Marvel Universe in a way that I don't think Spec or the 90s show ever could have.
Spec tried.
Simply by virtue of Ultimate being a team-up show, it necessitates being...
was Ultimate the one with Power Man and White Tiger?
Now, you're going to be introduced to like... Yeah, you're going to be introduced to just like some Marvel characters you maybe wouldn't have cared about before if you're only, you know, interested in Spider-Man.
That was the team-up show,
And there was a very clear turn starting with season 3 of that show when Wacker left Marvel editorial and jumped over to Marvel Animation. A lot of the concepts from the modern comics, like Kane as Scarlet Spider, for example, Agent Venom was brought into that series, and so it makes it very it's a very different series than it started. Like there's a very clear line of demarcation of like when that series kind of turned and shifted.
Now, I will say that Ultimate doesn't always land the execution of those other things. I don't even think it landed Spider-Man that well, but I give it credit for being willing to tackle the wider Marvel universe in a way that I don't think a lot of shows ever will.
Well, and that was the first. It was the first time that Marvel had control of everything under the same house since the early 90s.
Okay,
and that made a massive difference because I mean, you look at what's up, Paul.
Hello.
In the background, Brad likes that. I know.
What the spinner rack? Yeah, I love spinner racks.
Dude, spinner racks they're the best, man. They're the best.
He has a spinner rack in his house, Brad. So that's a part of his background. He just moved into his new.
This is the new setup. 10
nice. I like it.
Yeah. Thank you. Was that
so? Paul, you wanted to jump in here, so.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself to everybody else.
Hello. I don't know most people. I only know Brad because I know Brad because I listened to the show forever. And that's why I know Zach and Neil before. So Brad, nice to finally meet you.
You too.
Yeah, and also the other people. I no offense to anyone. I don't know anyone besides that. Besides obviously Neil. So
Try Skull.
So we got Doug and Derek. So let me walk you through. We got Doug and Derek. They're from the Wolloping Websnappers podcast that covers animated Spider-Man specifically.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And then we got Collier, who is a journalist and former podcast host with Into the Spider-Cast that covers various Spidey stories.
All things Spidey.
Yep.
Nice. Nice.
And so okay, now you're introduced, Paul. What you had some thoughts, I think, when you were texting me in our group chat.
Well, you guys were just talking about podcasting and like, it's, and then Collier, I think you were talking about, it's not as hard as, or someone was saying, I think it was you. I do apologize if it wasn't. But someone said it's not as hard as people make, think, and you're absolutely right. And I mean, hell, if I can podcast and have like more than like 2 people actually like care about what I say, like then anyone can effing do it. As far as I'm
probably
concerned.
ought to give some context for those that don't know, like your podcasting history.
I got a pretty extensive one, not because it's like I'm any good, but just because I'm like, I've happened to be like just doing it forever. It feels like I've been podcasting since 2011, and so, I've been inspired by like the Batman on Film, Spider-Man Crawlspace. Those were the early ones I used to listen to all the time. In fact, I discovered Michael Bailey because of the Crawlspace, because Brad, you guys did that crossover episode of the Hulk years ago, eons ago.
I remember that.
Yeah,
Bailey was a regular panelist too.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah,
twice.
Yeah.
2 different eras. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love Bailey. Like I've had him on the comic bench a number of times, and he's a G, and but I love like his from back in the day when I learned from you guys, like everyone, like for Bailey and everyone, he did this great like thing where he did like a yearly comic book adventure from his like age, from like when he first discovered comics to like adulthood, and and like all the real life things that happened in between. It was incredible. And it was very inspiring, to be honest. And I love the talk. If you don't know me in real life, if you didn't know I was podcasting, I'll never shut up. So it felt like a natural fit, and I just suck. I sucked at it. I still suck at it, but whatever. But like I sucked at it. But seriously though, I sucked at it, and I was like, I'm terrible. And then I just kept doing like these music podcasts, like no one listened to. And then lo and behold, the Batman on Film guys at the time spun off and did a thing called Modern Myth Media. And they were all super DC guys, and this is right about 2008 when Iron Man, or 9 or 10, around that time frame, when Marvel started really coming out, the MCU stuff. And I grew up a Marvel zombie. That's as you guys can tell, like I'm a diehard Marvel fan, and I just always will be. And Spider-Man's my all-time favorite character of all time in any fictional media, whatever. And when they were looking for, like, I could tell like they didn't really have a Marvel presence on the show because they were mostly DC people. And I just emailed them and said, hey, I'm a big Marvel zombie. Like, I'd love to be on the show. Like, give my insight. Here's a podcast I did that, like, whatever. And he was like, oh, I'll have you on. And that was Sean Gerber. And if you don't know who Sean Gerber is, he now runs the MCU fan show that I happen to be on as well. And just stayed on course with him for many years. And we've been doing it ever since. And, in the middle, I've just done like tons of Star Wars podcasts, and then now I'm doing the I jumped on the YouTube train of doing YouTube videos and streams and stuff, and got to know Zach and on Zach's show. So it's just like, I didn't mean to talk very long there. I'm sorry, but long-winded way of saying
audio and video show, man.
I know. I gotta be more animated. Be like, hey, okay, gotta do all this, and then just like magic. And
okay, you don't have to do interpretive dance. It's fine.
Interpretive dance works. I mean, it would be next level if I could do like magic tricks while I'm talking. Like that would be like, I'd probably get more subs that way too.
Probably.
So, but anyway, I just want to say, like, for people out there who are wanting to podcast, and I say this, I always tell people this about any creative venture, whether it be you're making, playing music for the first time, if you're, doing like whatever creative thing, you just do it. Like, don't worry about sounding great. Don't worry about looking great or whatever you're doing. And I think podcasting is no different. It's an art in some form. And I definitely think that you're only going to get better by doing it. And, when I first started doing the YouTube stuff, I just was like, I don't feel comfortable in front of a camera, and I still don't, but I just made myself do it. I just made myself like, the only way I'm going to get better is by doing it. Right. So I say to people, don't worry how you sound. Like, don't worry about the quality of like the recording necessarily. As long as people can hear it like decently well, like okay enough, just do it. Because, I grew up in like the punk rock stuff. Like, I don't care about audio quality necessarily. As long as it's good content, like, seriously, as long as it's good content, That's all that matters to me, you know. And I think for most people, most people are the same way usually. So get out there, do it, and don't, you're not going to be probably like an award-winning podcaster at first. It's going to take some time, and just accept it and have fun with it. And if you, before you know it, you'll be like, oh, I've already done like 5 episodes. And I think the next best advice I'd give, and this all seems obvious, but is consistency. Like, don't stop. Like, if you stop, people, because the thing I've with Comic Binge, and again, like, I don't only have like, I don't have a lot of subs, but I will say that like the more, because I've been consistent, I see like my shows get regular views, like, hear things here or there because I'm consistent. So people see my show and they're like, oh, I'll go check out the other shows, because there's like a plethora of stuff to listen to. Now, granted, like 20 people listen to it, but whatever. The point is, it shows that you're committed and that you believe in what you do. And I think that is a lot important. It's a subconscious thing I think people don't really think about. But when I look at someone, they only see like they have like 3 videos. It's hard for me to like invest even a little bit of time initiating to get into it. So the more I see like, oh, this person's like devoted to what they do, it just subconsciously clicks in my mind like, oh, I should like check this out. It may be worth something. I don't know. But I think those are the 2 biggest things. Just do it and be consistent.
I agree with that. It's one of those things where this is one of the reasons I wanted to get so many different voices on this episode tonight, because I wanted to hear, everybody's takes. And yes, I know a lot of Brad's podcasting stuff because we were arm in arm in the trenches for a long time. But, I know that there's such a wealth of knowledge that Brad has because he's been doing it for so damn long. I mean, I say we because we did it together for so long, but you've been doing it for so long. And then, you, Derek and Doug, you guys bring something to the table that the niche aspect. I mean, you guys, have that home, and you guys have made and done really well. I mean, your graphics are great. And same thing with Collier. I mean, everybody that's on this show has had some level of success, in my opinion. And I feel like that for people that want to start doing this type of content, whether it's Spider-Man or whatever, having this type of episode, I think there's extreme value in it. And I'm just extremely grateful for you guys coming on. Brad.
Yeah.
I love you, man.
Thank you.
I have missed you. Truthfully,
I've missed chatting with you too.
And it's
always fun to chat with you, Zach, and thank you for having me on, even if it was brief.
No, Collier, we'll do this again. And like I say, we're gonna have different shows and different podcasters come back, and this is gonna be something that's a little regular. Thanks for coming back, Neil, so that I can be the Brady Bunch or Hollywood Squares.
The Spidey Bunch.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Oh, we all have the same thing.
But we might want to take the. I'll take the graphic.
I'll be Alice.
No, this is my Mike Wazowski moment. I'm a huge Pixar head, and this is an honor.
I love being covered up by NE.
But so I mean, we've been doing this for almost a little over 2 hours. So I just want to say thank you guys to you all. Thank you guys for coming on. We will do this again. I promise.
I want you in.
I found a picture of Brad and Zach.
What the heck?
Neil,
I don't know what that is.
I don't know either. But it's from...
You haven't seen? Oh no!
All right, so
what's that sound? Is CJ
Sorry.
talking?
CJ.
Yeah, it's CJ
There you
again.
go.
Sorry, CJ. All right, so what we're gonna do? We'll go around the room. Let's promote what you guys got going on. We'll start with Doug and Derek. Let's let you guys promote it. I have tried to include links to your shows and your Patreon shows in the description below. If I missed it, I will fix it later on in post.
Cool. Yeah, luckily everything Derek and I do together is very easy to find at wallopingwebsnappers.com. We've got our Twitters right here on the screen, so you can also find our stuff that way.
For the audio listeners,
yes, thank you. So I'm at Icky Booley, ICKYBOOLEY. I also do a show on the same network that our Spidey show is on called Victory Road. It's a Pokemon podcast if you like stuff like that.
Yo.
Yeah. And I do a show about books and video games called Novel Gaming. So that's all my stuff, Derek.
Cool. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Derek B. Gale. My other podcast, other than Wolloping Websnappers, I have is called Gimmicks. You can find that on anywhere you get your podcasts, of course. But it's a television podcast that looks at the high concept, experimental, structure breaking, gimmicky episodes of television. I do it with a different guest and of a different show for every episode I do. You can also follow that, on Twitter and Instagram at Gimmicks Pod as well. And I do have a Twitch at Mr. Dare Bear that streams my old VHS tapes of stuff with commercials that I have taped off TV. And I'm going to do a stream of just like any Spider-Man episodes that I have on tape as they aired on like Fox Kids and ABC Family. I'm going to do that starting next Thursday. And I'm just going to it's about 10 hours worth of it. I'm just going to kind of run it on loop on Thursday and Friday.
Whoa.
Yeah, I also forgot to mention we have we did a Pixar movie marathon podcast. We watched every Pixar movie from the beginning to the end to figure out what makes a Pixar movie hit right. You know what I mean? And that will be revived very soon for Elemental, so you can find that as well. I also see a comment, Doug, what is your YouTube channel? If that's for me, I don't have one.
Yeah, there's no YouTube, Duke. They are exclusively audio. This is a treat giving them video.
Their website is available on their Twitter or on at least on
it's wallopingwebsnappers.com, and Twitter and Instagram are both at Wolloping Web Pod.
Yep.
Everything you can find on those places.
We've got Wolloping Websnappers like pretty good in the Google results at this point, I think.
Yeah.
Yep, your the first result is your Twitter.
That is amazing to hear from someone other than the two of us, because I know it shows up for us. But if it's showing up for other people, that's great.
Well, I mean, your situation is far better than mine. If you delete the hyphen between Spidey and Dude.
Oh no, it's like whitehouse.gov or
yeah, it very much is. So P Thug, you kind of mentioned it at the top, but promote your stuff, buddy. We're streaming on your channel right now, so.
Oh, I know. I'm well aware. I got a notification. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know this is going on. All right. No, if you find me on the Comic Binge YouTube channel, go subscribe, please. I would love it. Appreciate it. I'm almost to 1,000 subs. I'm really super excited. Next week, speaking of Spider-Man Council is next Tuesday, and we'll be reviewing Spider-Man 2099, the first 12 issues, which I'm almost done with right now. I might have a lot more to say than I realized, to be quite honest.
Boy.
I'm just going to tease it like that. I didn't read a ton of it back when I was a kid. I only read the first couple issues. So I love the costume, and I love Peter David. So it's like, oh, this will be interesting. But yeah, we're going to do that. And after that, next month, we'll have basically Across the Spider-Verse review. And then it's basically just a Flash, just binge of like review of the Flash movie. We're going to do Flash Point. We're going to do Flash recommendations. And Javi Trujillo, my boy, the El Corazon himself, will be joining us for pretty much the entire month of June, essentially. And I'm stoked. I effing love that guy. So anyway, yeah. So lots of Spider-Man goodness 2 weeks in a row, and then just lots of Flash. And then after that, if you don't know what the Comic Binge is, basically me and my buddies like Zach or Neil or whatever get on there. We talk about comic books and we just about a bunch of random stuff, and it'll be random books every week. There's a bunch of like sub series that we do that you can, if you want to get into it, like we're binging the 52 series by DC. And recently we just did the Infinite Crisis, and we've done all kinds of stuff. There's tons of stuff on there.
If you like comics in general,
it's called the Comic Binge for a reason.
Yeah, there you go.
Read more comics. Come on,
read more comics. Collier,
yeah.
Hopefully your audio is cooperating. What's where can we find you all?
You can find me on Twitter at CJ Writes Things. On Instagram and TikTok at CJ Writes Stuff. I've started making videos about chronicling different parts of comics and stuff like that. My written work is at Collider, IGN, /film, Adventures in Poor Taste, AIPT Comics, and But Why Though?
Your link tree, is it going to be? I think it should be in the description. If not, I'll have included it in the description. So.
Yes, it has all my stuff, my socials, and my written work, and where else you can find me.
Thanks, Collier. We'll do this again. Hopefully your audio will be able to cooperate a little bit.
Yes, and hopefully I will have some time. But yeah,
Yeah, I got you. Triskull. There's a story there, Brad. You probably don't know what we're calling.
He's got 3 heads. I don't know what the.
So you know that Omnitrix that MJ is wearing now. Like she's always alluding to
the thing on her wrist.
Yeah, the Omnitrix. Yeah. So you know how she's always like alluding to, I don't want to roll 3 skulls because something bad could happen. And my theory was that the 3 skulls hit and Paul and the kids just explode.
But then that was before the Kamala Khan reveal, so it might escalate very quickly.
Anyways, hi, I'm Neil. I am the brand designer and co-producer of the network. You all know who I am. Actually, at the beginning of the month, the final pilot of Books of X, our Patreon first show, will be airing on YouTube. Every episode after that will be for the $5 patrons first, and then available to the general audience about 6 months later. We're covering the entire Hickman era of X-Men, for better or worse. God rest our souls.
Yes, seriously. Godspeed, Neil.
I'm the one that's doing it with him. I got roped into doing it.
Dude, you're going to be so bored and be like, this is awful. There's no doubt in my mind.
Hang on. I've got Zach kind of into it, though, at least to start.
I did
the first series are great. Powers of 10 and House of X are great. And then after that, it just goes to complete shit.
Anyway.
All right. Don't ruin it for the patrons. Anyway,
all right.
Brad,
Brad,
what are you up to? Shill your products.
Yeah, I was gonna kick it to Brad, but thanks, Triskull.
Triskull.
Next month on the Spideydude Network, Zach and I are starting a new show. It's where it's 2 old guys yell at clouds about podcasting. We talk about the origins of podcasting. That's our new show.
Actually, I'd listen to that podcast.
Listen, if people want to listen to that, I will do it.
They don't.
They want to see the young the young fresh
when Zach and I in the 90s. No, I'm just kidding. Spider-Man Crawlspace.com, Spider-Man Crawlspace is on YouTube. Tomorrow night, Zach and Kelly and a few others, we're doing a ASM review show. We're also doing a Patreon show where we'll review 75 books. Who knows how many books we're going to review in 2 hours or less. Bunch of symbiotes, bunch of clones.
And there's a silk book, which I'm looking forward to.
And a silk book. You love your silk. In August, it's the 25th anniversary of the Crawl Space. We have some special shows lined up this summer. I'll give you one. Marv Wolfman is going to be a guest this summer. That should be fun. We're going to talk to him about and everybody will be excited about Teen Titans, but I'm not talking about Teen Titans. I'm talking about ASM 200. I'm talking about the first appearance of Black Cat with him. So I'm excited. That's
talk about Terry Long.
We're talking about what?
Talk about Terry Long.
Terry Long. There you go.
Wait,
yeah.
Black Cat showed up in ASM 200.
No, around in Marvel.
Wolfman. Yeah, Wolfman's era. Yeah. Because ASM 200 is one of my favorite Spider-Man issues ever.
Same. The Burglar, Return of the Burglar.
So
Absolute
good.
one of my all-time favorites too. So that's one of the reasons I want to talk to him, and also about the Black Cat origin.
Hell yeah.
We got another couple celeb interviews we're trying to work on, and hopefully they come together for the 25th anniversary. And that's about it.
I'm sure you're going to do a live caller show.
Live caller in August. Yeah. We have people from around the world say, I remember you on MySpace. Yes.
On MySpace. Douglas, come on.
I was on MySpace. You might have been in my top 9.
I wasn't.
Oh my God.
Did you guys have Friendster back in the day?
I didn't have a friend. I mean, Friendster.
Everybody is just aging themselves right now.
Oh yeah, we're 2 hours older than when we started. I tell you,
dude. When I said the words, Brad's podcast predated the announcement of the iPhone by 5 months.
He did, dude.
That predated Neil.
Dates the show.
Brad was a G. Yeah, Neil wasn't even born yet when he started the show.
Neil was conceived on my show. No, just kidding.
Oh God. That'd be awkward.
I'm leaving.
All right, so and he just dopes out. All right, now that everybody's gone through and talked about it, we do have some cool things coming up. Obviously, I enjoyed doing this episode. This has been so cool. Derek and Doug, I got to get back on your show to review some some acid trip. I mean, the 67.
I want to talk Spider Woman after I watch
You know
it.
what? I do want to talk Spider Woman because I've never seen it.
I kind of want to do a commentary series for the Patreon after we do MTV Man.
We are doing that for the patrons.
And what's the jerk photographer at the Daily Bugle or whatever she works at?
Oh, Jeff.
Jeff, I want to get an opinion of Jeff after I watch it too.
Yeah.
Yes,
he has
a
the most
Discord
punchable
emote.
face.
Yeah, we have a Discord emote dedicated to just fuck Jeff.
No, it just says shut up. It just says shut up, Jeff.
Yeah,
nobody ever uses it for anything because
but we
nobody's
know
like
it's there.
mean enough to
everyone
do it,
knows
but we
who's
always
Jeff.
whip it out.
Well,
Yeah,
you're gonna have
look
to,
at
you're
this
gonna have to-
asshole.
See, he looks like Peter. He looks like
He looks
Peter
exactly like Peter.
Oh my
Yeah.
god!
Except a lot more punchable. Look
When
at
I
his
was a little
eyebrows.
kid, 4 or 5, I thought that was Peter Parker. Seriously.
Holy balls!
He looks like a Star Trek the Animated Series character.
He does.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
Duke, we call the MTV series MTV Man. That's our.
Doogie Howser is the voice, right?
Yep, that's
Yep.
Neil Patrick Harris.
And the guy from Starship Troopers.
and How I Met Your Mother and Father. He did.
Who was Harry Osborn? Was that Ian Ziering from 90210?
That was the guy. That was the guy who would go to be in Sharknado.
Yeah, that guy.
What strange lives the MTV Man cast has led. Oh, Michael Dorn was there.
Michael
Michael
Dorn
Dorn.
was in the MTV show.
He was
Who did he play?
Craven. He was Craven.
He was
Ah, that'd be good. That'd be good.
Anyway, I was trying to do the outro. of
Today
the
is a
show.
good day.
No,
to
you don't get
die
to do
in
the outro. The
jungle.
show, the ride never ends. Joiner.
God almighty. But so we're going to be covering the Kamala Khan book on Wednesday. And it's going to be a disaster. I already know. We will go into a pretty extensive detail about the
I didn't know about that spoiler, Zach. It hasn't been on the internet at all.
Because Entertainment Weekly did an article on it.
He was being facetious, Triskull.
I'm being very sarcastic.
I couldn't
haven't
tell.
seen
I'm going to
these-
be honest. I couldn't tell.
I must.
Try school. Come on, man.
Buddy, like he that's like an alley-oop in basketball, and he threw it up, and you just was like, no, let it go
Squirrel.
right over your head. I mean, but no, we're gonna cover that issue. Apparently, it's a $10 issue, so there's supposed to be some thick meaniness to it.
$10?
Yeah, it's a $10 issue.
You'll pay $10 for
Really?
this book
That
and you'll
book's
like
$10?
it.
I don't
That
remember.
book is $10. Yeah.
But it's been spoiled.
Well, I guess that there's
It's like buying a $10 steak that the expiration date's old. I mean, come on.
well, and here's the
Come
thing.
on.
I'm going to go
You get
into
a discount at
my
least.
theory.
That's what
I
I'm
have a
saying.
theory about what happened with the whole the leak
But that's a story
And-
for another time.
and everything. But I'll definitely give my opinion on that on Wednesday. We'll also talk about the Spider-Man 2 stuff,
Video
the
game. Yeah.
video game stuff that came out too. So that's going to happen Wednesday. And then the following week, we will do a review of it Across the Spider-Verse. So I'm looking real forward to that. And then
Is that June 2nd that's coming out?
June
Yeah.
2nd.
Yeah.
My daughter's birthday is birthday party is June 3rd. So I think we're going to do,
You're going to take her
Maybe
to this movie on her birthday? That's cool.
yeah, because her birthday party is not till later in the afternoon. So I think we're going to do that like early in the day. She said she saw the trailer and she goes, "Are we going to go watch that, Dad?" And it's like,
Oh, that's what you want to hear.
watch it. I asked her, "Do you want to go watch it?" He goes, "Yeah, I'll go watch it with you." I was like, "Okay." So
I got the
big
same
proud
reaction.
dad
That's fine.
moment.
But
And at
does
that
she
point, my heart
want to watch it with? Like, that's the real thing.
yeah, she wants to watch it with me. So that's I try not to.
I couldn't get my daughter to see Ant-Man. She was like, "Hell no!" Or she didn't say "hell no," but she said, and I'm like, "Well, she was smarter than I am. I paid good money to go see that third Ant-Man movie.
I don't.
I like
hate
the movie. It's
Eh.
fine.
I don't.
It's a C. It's a C minus.
It is a Marvel movie.
It's okay.
Everybody,
I've seen worse.
Listen,
Okay,
listen.
here's
It's
my
not.
thing.
It's
It
not
was-
amazing, but like, dude, like Kang is so good at it.
Oh no, Kang's the best
Kang-
part. MODOK is
course.
the opposite of Kang.
Well, sure. I don't know.
I did finally
I like
watch
the
the
fun.
first 15 minutes because I missed the first 15 minutes when I went to go see it because my Uber didn't show up on time. And so I finally watched it on Disney Plus. I was like, oh, okay, this is what I missed. I didn't miss much. Okay.
It's all the anti-green screen stuff is what is in the first 15 minutes.
All the stuff that was shot practically.
Oh, yeah, all the practical stuff. Hey, I'm selling a book. Hey, what's this mystery box, and boom, we're all green screen world.
Kang was good enough for me. That was the thing for me.
Oh yeah,
Kang
Kang's
was
not the problem. Not the
Kang,
problem.
Kang carried it.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kang was not the problem with that movie. Look,
Yeah, agreed.
I always say that Marvel movies oscillate between a C- to A+, like that range. I have not seen anything lower than that, in my opinion. You
Even
know,
Eternals wasn't a C. It was not lower.
I have
than
not watched Eternals, so that is
okay.
a DNP. Did not participate.
Oh.
So
I went with a different abbreviation on that.
Zach,
We almost went somewhere bad. Yeah.
I've said this before. I think like I first watched Eternals. I didn't like it at all. I saw it again. I liked it way more. Is there something?
I saw it in the theater.
I'm gonna try and steer us towards the ending, but I also watched Eternals. It was very much Marvel's attempt at a Zack Snyder movie, and your mileage on that will vary.
Oh, no. Yeah, it's not. Listen, it's a little. There's too many characters, but yeah.
Even Blade.
What's that?
Even Blade's in the dang thing.
Yeah,
well,
Blade's in it.
His voice is in the damn thing.
What?
You didn't know about this?
That was
This just in, Zach.
Jesus Christ!
All right, I'll stop.
Sorry,
mute
Zach.
myself.
Well, I didn't know Blade.
Stick around after the credits, Zach. You'll see it.
Well, I got spoiled on what's his nuts? The pop singer.
What?
Was that a Build-A-Figure?
Harry Styles. Harry Styles.
I got spoiled about Harry Styles' appearance, which
Oh yeah.
okay, but I didn't know that Blade showed up. Okay, all right. Well,
Anyways.
I'm gonna have to watch it. Maybe we'll review it on Patreon. All right. Speaking of patreon.com/Spidey Network. If you want to support this show and all the shows on the Spideydude Network, I mentioned them at the top. You can always find me on at Twitter at Spideydude Radio. You can also look for me at Spideydude on Twitter as well. Apparently today is my Twitterversary. What? Okay.
He's 15.
15 years on Twitter.
You still can't drink.
Right. And then you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Spideydude Network, as well as TikTok. And then you can find the show, obviously, at Spideydude Radio Network here on YouTube. You can leave us a voicemail if you like. 818-925-6631. That is the voicemail line. Be sure to let people know which show you're calling about, and we'll play the voicemails on the respective shows. You can always leave us an email at SpideyDudeRadioNetwork@gmail.com if you want to leave us feedback. Also, if you give us that comment, that like, that share, that subscribe, we really do appreciate it here on YouTube. It helps with the algorithms. And of course, if you are listening to the audio edition, thank you. And we will see you next time here on the Spideydude Radio Network.